do something. Oh my god. It's so cute though.
Hey. Okay.
But we like to whisper.
I'm sucking on my mic. I'm kidding. Where's my mute? I'm sucking on my mic. I'm kidding.
That's definitely fun.
Well, hello there, and welcome to Ladies of the Round Table, episode 89. Look, it's a guy sitting at our table, and a bunch of real grills.
Is that rare to have a guy on the show?
It's
Yeah.
not rare.
I wouldn't say it's rare, but it's you know,
It happens.
Well,
Much
in
like-
that case, I'm even more honoured and privileged to be here. So thank you very much.
it's much like how the gaming community just keeps becoming more and more women and less men. So we're just slowly taking over.
Taking over. So if you are new to the channel, thank you for following. We saw you hit the follow button. We appreciate you. And if you're not new, you Lord Legends, throw up your Phoenix, show them what you got. Pixie. I am
Okay.
Sharasta.
Oh boy. Sorry.
Uh-oh, she can't handle it. I am one of the many ladies at the table. The other one over there that's blurting out things, that's Holly. Holly's at the table. Give away,
Hi.
Holly. Miss Pixie's at the table.
Silent.
Tiff's at the table.
I'm
No.
here. Not so silently.
And the gentleman at the table, Mr. Richard Lewis, thank you so much for joining us.
No, really, honestly, it's a pleasure to be here. I've been promising Holly Ann for some time I would come on and do this. So it was her birthday present, apparently, which I think she sold herself incredibly short. She could have had anything, a pony, but no.
Anything?
Yeah, but she wanted this, and I think come the end of the show, she'll probably regret it. But
I'll just ask for more. I'm just gonna ask for more.
but we'll see where it goes. But no, it's good to be on the show. I had the pleasure of meeting Holly Ann out in face to face in San Francisco when I was doing a conference talking about esports journalism and the future of it and stuff. So it's nice to sort of come in and do a show like this, which is way out of my comfort zone, not the kind of thing I would usually do. So I'm just as nervous as anyone else here. So.
I don't think you are.
So the first part of the show, usually we do a rundown on the guest and do a little intro. We're going to throw out our hashtag for the evening. And what's that hashtag for, Holly?
It's my birthday Sunday, so if you're already in here talking crap, stop, because it's my birthday and I don't have time for it. Just kidding. You can continue talking crap. It makes me feel good about myself. So the hashtag is hashtag birthday with an F, because we're going hardcore old school. So hashtag BIRF day. So if you guys have a question, we're not going to be able to see it unless you're throwing up that hashtag. So make sure you throw that up and we will get your questions asked to Richard and or the ladies.
The ladies. We usually play chicken with chat, but with this many people in here, I'm not going to let Pixie
I'm not
do
doing
chicken
it.
with chat today.
Also, like 50,000 minutes rambling
Yeah.
on.
So,
The
if
whole
you're-
show.
If you're a Lord Legend, you're in the channel, throw up your Phoenix. We'll give Pixie some chicken with chat shoutouts that way. If you're not, you can sub to the channel. Remember, all the monies that you're throwing at us from the sub button go directly to our scholarship foundation. That goes to our charity, not in our pockets. Not to the ladies. We're not getting our nails done. We're not buying the division. It's going to scholarships. It is a real thing.
Just kidding.
We thank you to our sponsors that are sponsoring us this week. XSplit, thank you so much for the XSplit Premium Keys for giveaway. And
We love
Discord,
you.
thank you so much for having us as a partner. And ladies, so let's get it started. Let's talk to Richard about everything. And if you don't know who Richard is, don't worry. We're going to throw up some links, some social media. You can get some background. But Richard, I'm going to let you tell the chat a little bit about yourself, because who's better to talk about you than you?
Well, often anyone but actually. Yeah, so I've been a journalist, kind of writing about gaming and particularly competitive gaming, which is called esports now, which is a lot more catchy than cyber athleticism, which we used to call it at some point in like 2004 or 2005. I've been doing that for over 10 years. And somehow managed to make a career out of it, which just seems an absurd thing to be able to do in this day and age. But currently, I am writing with Breitbart, which I know probably there's going to be some hisses or crucifix put up at me. I'm a moderate. I am a moderate. I find myself, kind of in the middle. I don't necessarily subscribe to their entire political output. Let's put it that way. But I think they make an important stand on some freedom of speech issues, which I also write about that. I write about kind of internet, kind of culture and how we're moving towards a more censorious environment from the open net that I used to grow up with. Well, I did grow up with in the 90s when it, first came out. And we were like, oh, this is going to be brilliant. This is going to fix everything. And then, compared to where we are now, it seems, we've fallen quite far. So I write about a range of topics, but yeah, gaming and competitive gaming is definitely my sort of field of expertise. Let's put it that way.
I mean, it's honest to God truth that the internet has changed over the course of
Yeah.
the last, I'm going to say 10 years for me. I mean, come on. Get it real. I was playing the Atari. I'm going to put it out there. Yep, dated myself.
Hardcore.
So now things are a lot different. And now that I have a junior achiever, it's I'm putting it under a microscope a lot more than I would have maybe if I didn't have a kid. Things have changed. So I appreciate people like yourself who are looking under the rug, looking behind the curtain, and showing me things that maybe I should be keeping an eye on, and or things that I wasn't aware of. So thank you so much. That journalistic integrity.
Yeah, I think it's important to say, like this is something that is kind of pitched primarily at a younger generation. And I'm not a parent, and I'm kind of opting out of that that decision, consciously. I got that pessimistic outlook, that the human experiment has failed. So I'm out of that one. If I was a parent, I think, I would worry a little bit actually about some of the stuff that's out there on the internet. Not to the hysterical degree. I think some publications like the Daily Mail in the UK might say, where it's like if a child has a Facebook account or a young child has a Facebook account, they're going to instantly be abducted and taken away and sold into slavery or whatever else is the topical headline of the Times. But I definitely think there are parts of the internet out there that cause me concern. And even young adults, one of the things that I like to do in esports is kind of expose the people that are looking to exploit young people, naive people, and yeah, as I would go as far as to say that this can be as upwards of 18, 19. I still consider that now sort of young adult age. It's like the end of your teenage years. I think there's still a lot of naive people out there who might be taken in by some unscrupulous promises made by some unscrupulous people. And that's what I try and write about, because it's a very young industry. The athletes in the industry are like I say, once you get to 24, you're considered an old man, which makes me positively ancient within the scene. And the thing that I noticed was there was this recurring cycle of young people being exploited, and the stories always ended the same way, usually with these young people having opted out of college, and they end up with no money, no contract, no security, and it's really quite sad. So the internet can be quite like I say, I think unscrupulous is the most appropriate word. It can be quite an unscrupulous place. People don't really know what they're getting into a lot of the time, and people will take advantage of that.
So this is actually super fantastic. Recently, there have been a lot of discussions on legally binding contracts in esports. How do you feel about that?
Well, I mean, in regards to contracts, the average esports contract, if I'm being honest with you, the ones I've seen down the years, they've always been notoriously poor and would have unenforceable clauses in. One of the things that I started doing when I moved to the Daily Dot about 18, maybe even 2 years ago now, it'll be about 18 months, I'd say. I started taking these contracts to lawyers who were looking to get into esports, and that's the one thing we've never really had: good esports savvy legal representation. What I started doing was showing these contracts to these lawyers and saying, have you seen this? This is unreal, you know? Like, and they were looking at it going, well, first of all, half of it's like a employment contract, the other half is like a marketing contract. You can't necessarily have the two together. This clause isn't even enforceable in the state the contract's registered in. You know, people were just basically browbeating and bewildering young people, getting them to sign because they know they'll cave. And they know they'll cave because it's like if I came to you and I said, hey, you know, I'll use Holly Ann as an example. She'll appreciate this. If I said to Holly Ann, you know, hey, here's this amazing contract. We're going to put you on TV. We're going to make you a big star. We're going to pay you a fortune. And Holly Ann's the kind of person who would jump at that. She's going to say absolutely, and she's going to sign. And then and if I say, look, don't worry about the details. Don't worry about the details. We can work them out later. Let's just get this signed and get this ball moving, because I need you to sign in the next 48 hours. And this is how we subtly apply that pressure. And then people get themselves into bad contracts that they think are enforceable. Actually turns out that they're not enforceable. And if you sign a contract under duress anyway, you've got a whole legal, a legal element there as well. So, you know, it's just, again, lifting the veil. I think the average esports contract is absolute bullshit and does nothing but screw over the players for the most part.
I think a lot of those players are perceived to have legal representation or someone that's an advocate for them, which is not true, especially at that young age. You're looking at 19 to 23, maybe 24. They're not thinking about representation or someone, let alone their parents, looking at a contract. They're just so excited that someone is interested in them, and this is something that they can do as a career versus maybe go to college. Go ahead, Pix.
Well, especially in this day and age, you're looking at parents who don't understand esports. So they don't think any of this is a big deal. You're looking at parents who are like, wait, what? You can get paid?
Or win a scholarship to school.
Yeah.
There's
I've had that conversation so many times. I mean, that was like one of the things. I used to be a manager before I kind of hung up that and moved into journalism, where I felt I could do more positive stuff for furthering the industry. But I used to be a manager, and I used to have that conversation where it would be like, you would basically be, so the first part of the conversation is convincing parents that it's, well, actually, no. If I'm being honest, the first part of the conversation is convincing parents you're not a pedophile, actually.
Right.
And that's being honestly serious. I'm not saying that for comedic effect. Literally, okay, so you're an older guy, and you've met my son playing a computer game, and now you want him to come and travel to events with you in Europe. Okay, yeah. I'm ringing the police now, right? That's the first conversation you have to have, convincing them that no, I am a responsible adult to a degree, and there's nothing untoward going on here. Then you have to broaden the parents' education into, no, there is a market for this. Your child can actually have make a living out of this, and they're going to be secure. They've got an incredible talent, perhaps not one that you can understand or appreciate, and it can be very tough sometimes. The amount of young people that I've worked with that have actually had their careers cut short because of parents not understanding, not believing, not supporting, it's quite sad. And then the other way, the amount of young adults that have maybe been told, you've got to leave home, you get put out on the streets. If you want to make this work, then you've got to make it work like your parents had to make it work. I went to London, I didn't have more than £20 in my back pocket, and I made something out of my, it can be really, really bad. And, I think it's changed a lot in the last 10 years, but certainly when I was doing management, it was actually like really, really depressing, because you'd have to have that conversation with the kid. Like, look, I can't, I'm just a manager of a gaming organization. I can't actually overrule your parents' or guardians' wishes in any way. It wouldn't be responsible of me to do that. You need to work this out yourself. So it's pretty tough.
That's something that we see all the time, is parents not understanding and not getting what the heck's going on with their kids, let alone the games that they're playing. They don't even know what they're playing. They're just throwing money at them. And then they're like, oh, what do you mean you can make money playing this game? Whatever. You're just sitting there just playing a game.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where I've had conversations with parents, and I'm like, Have you seen the YouTube videos that your kids are watching? Yeah, those people are making money. Have you seen the giant arenas filled with people watching people play video games? Those kids are making money. And it's one of those things where it takes another adult for them to actually listen to them and understand the entire concept. Be like, yeah, you know how people play sports for a living? They do the same thing. They just play video games. You know, you can make a living out of almost anything. But this is something that's just kind of, I think, blown up in the past couple of years, that a lot of adults that have these younger kids that are 17, 18 years old right now, or even in their early 20s, it's not something they knew. They know video games to be like Pac-Man and Pong and Atari and stuff. They're like, nobody does that professionally. But I mean, even back in the day, people did that as, they were professional game players. It's been around for a long time. And it's just getting bigger and bigger with the age we live in now.
And 50 years ago, if a child in this country went to their parents and said, I want to be a footballer, I think they would be, that's unrealistic. That's not going to happen. I grew up in a real working class kind of area where everyone was. I mean, we still had a mine. A local mine, so I grew up in a colliery town, and it was all of my uncles and everything. It was just, no, you will go down the pit. You will work down the mine. You're not whatever it is you want to pursue. You won't do it. I was the first person in my family to attend any form of higher education or anything like that. So I understand how you can get locked into these cycles of the familial pressures. Remove you from doing. Having the possibility to do what you actually want.
And it depends on the area you live in too. I mean, you talk about, working in mines and stuff. Back where I'm back from Pennsylvania, where we have like coal mines and everything. Obviously, they don't use the coal mines as much anymore. The people that work there are giving tours, but it's small town kind of mentality. Nobody leaves. Nobody comes in. It's like, oh, where are you from? I was born there and I got to get out and everything. But it's one of those things where if you live in a bigger city, the parents are more lax because they're more into technology. They're more into in the now, what's going on. But you can have this kid that's doing really, really well, and they're from a small town, and maybe they're commuting out to the bigger areas to do events and stuff like that. So I feel like probably talking to those parents are even harder because they just don't even understand technology as a whole. So that being a challenge as well.
Yeah, it definitely is. And, I think it's, don't get me wrong, it's still a highly unrealistic path to make a career out of, even now. Okay, I mean,
I've been told so many times the past month because I was complaining about stuff, and they're like, "You should just quit your job and stream full time, play video games, and do stuff." I'm like, I'm an adult and I have some responsibilities that I need money to pay for. I'm not going to rely on the kindness of strangers on the internet to pay for my things. So and you're entertaining, great. I'm not entertaining for 8 hours at a time. I can give you short little increments of maybe 3 hours, and then afterwards you're like, okay, I'm done. I don't want to talk to you anymore. I'm switching the channel.
And that's what I mean. It's a pretty uncertain way to make a living. I think anyone who bites the bullet and goes into streaming full time is someone they're pretty brave, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
It's a real quantity.
That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
Oh please, Holly! People would throw money at their computer to watch you play. Where is my Square reader on my computer? Why does this not exist?
Well, now that Holly Ann is finally streaming
full time, I'm a psycho. Something's wrong with me. But I don't care. Haters gonna hate. I want to be a good example for women on Twitch, and there isn't enough of them, in my opinion. So
you're absolutely 110% correct. And Holly Ann and us that have had this conversation before the show even started today. And there's certain streamers that they're trolling constantly. Why can't you tell that she's a troll? She's putting out a really bad representation for female gamers and people who can't take her not seriously. And Holly Ann, I hope the best for all of your streams, and I hope that a lot of people realize that you're not just another. I don't even want to say the name, but there's more people out there that are way better, and I think that it's a horrible thing that she's an example.
Well, what do you think?
That leads me into my segue. One of my questions is for you, Richard, and the ladies as well. We go through this, and you guys in chat can get into this conversation if you use that hashtag birthday. Holly's going to throw it up so you know how to spell it the correct way so we can get your chat questions. When it comes to live streaming, video games, representation of as you know, we have a gender issue that has come up in our community because of Gamergate, or GG as we like to call it, that is now blasted all over the internet, and it has become more than it, it's polarized more than it needs to be. There has been some, what we like to call, misrepresentation of us ladies on Twitch and other places like YouTube and various places on the internet. And that in turn puts a bad taste in our mouths, because we feel that that is not representing who we are as female gamers, and also feeds into the stereotype of how we're represented whether we open our mouth or not, whether we show a cam or not. So those people like, I'm going to throw it out there, Casey Tron, whether you like her or not, some people can say that she's great, she's awesome. Some people say that she is the epitome of what we don't want to be represented like. So how do you feel? Do you think that?
Well, the first thing I would say is I actually think Casey Tron is kind of would be, if you were to talk to her privately, very much in alignment with your values.
If she'll allow you to talk to her, that's the other thing.
Well, this is the other thing. You see, obviously she's a satirical creation. She's essentially a comedic character, and very much like it took years before Sacha Baron Cohen would go out and do interviews.
He's also terrible. I'm sorry, that's my opinion.
Well, hey, that's absolutely fine. You know, not everyone has to like him, but certainly it took years and years before he wouldn't do interviews in character, before he started to sort of get to know the guy behind the characters. Now, I think Casey Tron is parodying all the things that you would dislike about a Twitch streamer. You know, I've retweeted, for example, Christy Plays, which I don't know if you're familiar with her work. And I'm not prudish. I have no issue with. I think actually the Twitch policy about how much flesh you show is a bit of a sort of almost Quakerish invention. I don't really like it. I don't want people kind of overstepping and telling me how I represent myself, and I wouldn't want anybody to do that for anyone else. But certainly I can understand why people might find it distasteful. What I start worrying about is this kind of issue you've got where you end up with people actually actively disliking women who are doing that because they think there's some sort of deception or duplicitousness going on. They think, how dare they come onto a gaming platform and make money through donations, through basically doing something that might be suited to another type of service.
There was a big
available on the internet.
Yeah, there was a lot of cam girls that instantly started playing games after they discovered Twitch. When that first started, I remember that happening. That was a really, really big thing within the porn industry and the online cam girls. Is they would be doing sexual acts and stuff online, and now they could just sit there and play games and just flirt. And I mean, you could look at that two ways, where it's a little bit less degrading. Or is it just as degrading, whether you're just showing your body or if you are being overly flirtatious? And that can depend on the person too, because sometimes that person, that's them and that's what they want to do. And I'm not gonna slut shame anybody. Yeah. But at the same time, with Casey in particular, I don't see anything positive coming from her funniness or anything like that. It's one of those things where we see a lot of females getting harassed, and we see a lot of females not wanting to be on cam because they're going to get all of the comments that Casey gets, and she welcomes them and loves them, and you donate money to her and she'll read whatever you write on the screen. And it's one of those things where I get it, I see that it's working for her, but I don't feel like it's doing the community any good.
It might not be, but then again, there's a counter argument.
Community any good? Because I could make the argument that I think it's actually doing a lot of good.
Yeah.
So my argument would be, it gives people who want to do that a place to go, and it keeps them out of other people's streams. It saves a lot of people a lot of hassle. She's
the cum dumpster of Twitch.
I mean, if you want to put it that way, yeah. I mean, that's fine.
I mean, she describes herself more elegantly as a human punching bag, which I certainly prefer that to cum dumpster, if that's okay with everyone. But I do get what you're saying. But I agree with Pixie on this. I think actually, if you want to vent, I think it'd be better to have sort of an avenue or a channel for that venting rather than perhaps taking it to someone who wouldn't welcome that sort of attention.
Absolutely. And I think you have to know in any real world scenario that there are going to be people who like you and there are people who don't. And there are going to be people who have different senses of humor than you and want to troll you. I've been asked like 3 or 4 times when I had my hair bright red if I dyed my hair with period blood. Like that has been asked to me, and I laugh at it because my point of view is I don't care. I don't. Like, nobody can pick on me as much as I pick on me.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, there's a difference between you and the girl that can't. I mean, there's also, you know, where this is like a really silly thing to think of, but there's this picture of a wolf. There's a big giant wolf and there's a tiny little wolf. Little wolf has 1 arrow in him and he's dead. Giant wolf has 50 arrows in him and he's still standing. You know, it just kind of depends on the person. And I don't think it's fair to treat everyone in that way. I mean, it sucks because, like, you know, I'll sit here and I'll talk bad about her and I get it, but she's not in alignment with my views. And that's totally okay. You know, she can go do what she wants. I'm not going to like go physically stop her, but it's also not going to make me stop putting out my opinion either. And it's not going to make me stop talking out against what she's doing because I don't think that it's right. And then she can just continue doing what she wants to do and make money off of it. I mean, that's how the world works, right?
Well, but this is the key issue here. We've seen this more and more actually in this sort of period of time where we're trying to. I think sensibly, intellectually, we should be moving towards a more permissive society. You know, less censorship on the internet, a move towards a free market forces dictating what we want to see and what we want to invest in. And actually, the pushback against a lot of the women who find themselves harassed, and again, I do use that term loosely, and I'm sure we'll get into some statistical data that'll give you my views on that a little bit later on. But actually, I find that a lot of the negative attention, a lot of the pressure actually emanates from other women who kind of feel that they're letting down the team, for want of a better phrase. And I when I look at that, I do kind of wonder whether or not actually, you know, I don't consider it my position, regardless of gender, to tell somebody else how they make a living or to apply some kind of artificial standard to them and say, hey, you know, you're a role model, or hey, you got to do it for the guys. You know, we got to think about, you know, a united front here. And yet I do see a lot of women streamers who kind of go off reservation in the eyes of people of a feminist slant, and they get a lot of negative attention from women who think that actually you shouldn't be doing that. And it's like you say, we get into, I don't think many men are out there, you know, well, actually that might not be true, but you know, I don't think as many, the slut shaming thing seems to emanate from other women. Actually. So, and rather than guys.
And it's a time-old tradition that it normally does, 96% of the time. But my point of this whole conversation was, someone like Casey, who has the persona and has the perception of what she has built in her own image, who has been, and you say she may or may not be aligned with what we're trying to do. We've invited her multiple times on this show so that she can say what it is, what her.
Yeah, but if she reveals the joke, then the joke ceases to be funny.
And then she ceases to make money.
Yeah, well, absolutely, because the whole point is that people aren't entirely sure. But let me assure you, it is very much a work. It's kayfabe,
to
use
sure.
a term
It's
from
her
wrestling.
persona.
And if she ever comes out and goes, yeah, actually,
No,
you know, I am
I'm not
a feminist.
really stupid. Like,
Yeah, and I'm not an idiot.
How
then
is she
the
supposed to be
joke is
taken
over.
serious or to move past this if she should want to go into another line of work, maybe acting, maybe broadcasting, maybe, you know, something else? How is she to go from there? She's only 20-something years old, and maybe that's not where, like we talked about before with some of these younger esports professionals, that's not something she's thinking towards. That's not her future. That's not her goal, because right now she's raking in the cash, and she doesn't have to think that way. We're going to move past this topic because we could be on Casey all day.
I didn't even comment.
I know, Holly-Ann.
I know
am
you didn't.
surprised.
However,
I was waiting patiently.
We've got
You did really well.
2 chat questions that we need to get to.
Well, I'll
Holly,
say the one
I
because
was
the
gonna
one
say,
has to do with
go ahead.
her.
Go for it.
So do you think, this is from the Cyclops, do you think people watching Casey would go watch other streamers? Is she stealing viewers in your optic? I think that's a good question. I think that people that, for me personally, just hashtag quick backstory. I used to stream. I had a successful stream. I deleted my stream. I'm now back on Twitch for like the last 2 weeks. So I have like a new stream again. I don't personally think she's stealing viewers from me, because I think that most people that watch me aren't going to watch her. And I think vice versa. That doesn't mean that I'm better than her or she's better than me or whatever. It just means different tastes, different. I mean, I feel like we're polar opposite, like at least how I present myself and how she presents herself is opposite. So I don't really feel like she's stealing my viewers, but the thing that's frustrating to me is every single Counter-Strike server I've joined in the last 2 weeks, every time I talk, I'm instantly called, oh gosh, we have another Caseytron in here. I've been gaming before that bitch was even a thing. I've been in esports long before Twitch was even around. So that to me is very offensive, because I am nothing like her. And I'm not saying her as her, I'm saying her as her persona online, because I don't know her. I'm like literally polar opposite. So that to me is like really offensive. So that's the only thing that kind of bothers me about it. I definitely see why she doesn't want to come on the show, just like Richard said, like, because then, you know, oh, gig's up, like, you know, it's done.
Yeah.
So I totally understand that. And obviously we can't know like exactly how she is or who she is, because it really is like acting for her. But it's a shame, because not everyone realizes that. They may go, oh, she's trolling, but then she's setting the precedence for women in the industry. That's not
and I think that's a key point, though. Like, can you condemn somebody for the idiocy of others? And I've often had this conversation. For example, there's a satirical publication in esports called Esports Express. I have had a very mixed relationship with it. I was helping them actually promote and get their Kickstarter together. But since then, I think some of the articles they've put out are deplorable and have really overlooked things that needed lampooning to attack individuals that they have personal issues with. And they do it behind a veil of anonymity. Now, one of the key things that happens with Esports Express is people don't understand that it's satire because they're idiots. Okay, and it's just there's no way around it. I see the same comments every time an article is published. How is this news? Wow, are those quotes real? Did Richard Lewis, because they write about me very often. I guess I obviously do a lot of things worthy of satire. They'll say, did Richard Lewis really say this? And obviously I didn't. Now, do I get upset with Esports Express because everyone who reads the publication is an idiot? You know, I probably shouldn't. I don't think that's very fair to condemn them for the lack of intelligence of others. And I think Caseytron's in a very similar position, that if people think it's real, they lack the cognitive faculty to look beyond and see that it's work and see that it's acting. And if they then apply that attitude to other people as a result of that, who do we need to be angry with? The stupid people or Caseytron for creating a comedic invention? I have been an enemy of stupidity for the longest time.
There's also a difference too between stupidity and just being a young kid not knowing the difference, and that's the other dangerous part.
And that is something. Obviously, there's a lot of young people as well. So when I say
especially on Twitch,
but then parents, get your shit together. Focus on what your kid's watching. I wouldn't let my kid watch her.
I don't even know where the cutoff point to become an idiot
but
is.
they watch
I don't know
on their phones. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, I had one kid watching my stream on his phone, and I was doing art stuff, and he's like, I'm not supposed to be on my phone. I'm grounded right now. And I'm like, dude, I'm painting a controller. Calm down. But, like, he was really nice, but the poor kid was, like, you know, on his phone. And, like,
you're like, no!
I was like, if you're grounded, like, go be grounded.
You know, the truth behind this whole conversation that we're having about Casey is there's always going to be someone else to replace someone like Casey. There's always going to be another
that's for sure.
something or other that we're going to be having these types of conversations about. And the bottom line for me personally is, if you don't like it, change the channel. If you don't like it, turn it off, go somewhere else.
Well, and the reality of it is, it doesn't matter whether... Okay, let's say Caseytron really is an absolute idiot. Caseytron can be an absolute idiot, just like any other guy on the planet can be an absolute idiot. Like, one person does not speak for everyone.
Well, and that's what's annoying, is because you don't see guys going on Counter-Strike and then going, oh, you're soda popping. Like, just because he's another guy. Like, okay, so you're a one-girl streamer and you're calling me Caseytron, really?
Is to go in and play Counter-Strike horribly because I'm awful at FPS.
Oh, can
Just
I
like
play?
Casey,
I'm
it's
terrible. I
perfect.
could be so good at that.
popping. Done.
Soda popping. All right, guys. So don't forget to use that hashtag birthday to get into this conversation. We see those questions going up in chat, but I don't see a birthday next to it, so I can't keep up with you. Don't forget, you can always tweet us live at our Twitter. Our mods will throw that up as well. And I see we have what? I haven't heard Holly ask a question yet, have I?
No.
No, go for it.
I'm trying to be like ultra friendly tonight because I know there's people watching that don't know
I
me.
got
I'm like,
sassy.
oh,
Don't you worry.
I know, I love it.
So I'm like, psh, whatever.
It's okay though. The ladies here and the subs know who I really am, so that's all that matters. They're like, well, we already know what
Don't
you
know me.
think. So,
I don't even know.
so my question. I mean, I could ask you 1,000 things, but I thought this was a good question, kind of that I'm interested in, but I think everyone else would be interested in as well.
Right.
As we know, being in esports is not the easiest thing, and in fact, sometimes it's quite difficult. You're probably, and by probably I mean you, I'm sure you are, a little stronger than I am in dealing with difficult situations. Sometimes it gets the better of me, and
I think we need to have an arm wrestle to prove that.
I'm telling you,
I'm down.
That's got to go down.
So anyone that knows who you are or has Googled you knows some of the difficulties and struggles that you've encountered and you continue to encounter. So I want to know, what is the one thing that continues to make you like work hard for what you do and is kind of like that thing that drives you?
Well, okay, so first of all, I think it would be remiss of me if I didn't say, obviously some of the situations are absolutely ones I could have avoided, and ones of my own creation, because my standpoint has always been that I don't want to bend the knee when the mob comes knocking. I don't want to bend the knee. I won't be corporate, and obviously that's going to probably change this year. But my stance has always been I will not placate these idiots who come to harass me. You want to talk to me disrespectfully, okay? I'll talk to you back on the exact same level. And I think because no one else does this, it's always been this big like moral of like outrage. Like, how dare he do this? Like, I called him an asshole. He's called me an asshole, but I'm unknown and he's a known quantity. So how dare he do that? And there's a good book about this by John Ronson called "You've Been Publicly Shamed." I recommend anyone reads it, and it talks about several high-profile instances where people have made innocuous tweets or they've done things that really aren't a big deal, and yet they've been castigated to the ends of the earth, and people are trying to take their careers away, and it's really quite terrifying the level of access that social media gives you. But again, so I know what to do. Again, these people are idiots. It's very easy manipulating idiots. If you can't do that, then you're the idiot. So if at any point, you're wondering, all I have to do is come out when someone says, hey, you're an asshole. All I have to do is say, I'm really sorry you feel that way, and I'll work harder to improve. And it's only my pride and my ego that says, no, I'm not going to do that, actually. These guys are going to get told, I think you're a bigger asshole. Well, let's see where this goes. All right, let's see who backs it up first.
That's one of those things you can be like, yeah, I'm sorry about that, and they're like, man, what a dick. And now he thinks that he can work on him. Yeah, whatever. And that's something that somebody can go either way. It goes both on that one, and there's no making anybody else happy half the time.
I'm always confident that I like. Okay, so in the game of social media chicken, right, as to who's going to go the furthest, I'll never swerve first, never. Because I've been in this position so many times where people have like come after my job and written terrible things about me and published lies about me on the internet. And people, if you were to talk to the average League of Legends player, for example, they would tell you I am literally worse than Hitler. Like, it's not even up for debate. I've done all these deplorable things. I got accused today of DDoSing people, which I've never engaged in that once. I don't even. Well, yeah, but I don't even think I lack the technological. I don't have the technological understanding to do it. So I've definitely never done that. But this is how the lies and the myths build up. But again, I just don't care. I'm never going to swerve. So to answer your question, there are two things that generally keep me going. And one, to be a nice guy about it, to be, and this is honest, it's not spin. I do take my job super seriously. I think one of the reasons I get so upset when people call me out for being unprofessional is that I pretty much define myself by my job. I haven't really had a lot of else going on in my life apart from the job. Obviously, girlfriend, all the usual functional stuff. But I even she tell you, I prioritize the job to a depressing degree. And haven't, and probably aren't a great partner as a result of that. But I take it seriously. I do take it seriously. When people attack my job, they can attack me anything else. Hey, you're overweight. Hey, you're bald. Haha, 4 eyes. Whatever it is, I can laugh that off. But when you attack the job and the work that I do, and you lie about it and you spread misinformation, I'll come after you 10 times as hard, because that's pretty much that's the core of my being. So I do take it seriously. But the other answer, and the other part of it, and this is like where it gets really kind of depressing and weird, is that it is just spite. It's absolute unrelenting spite that I just feel I'm not going to back down in the face of these people. The smart thing to have done at several points was to get off this ride. Like, there was options. Years ago, I had a job offer. I could have been a sports writer. I didn't get off the ride. Before that, before I was with my current girlfriend, I was with another girl who was like, hey, do you want to come to Colorado and we'll get one of those suspicious marriages, and you can live in Colorado and I don't know, become a marijuana farmer or whatever they do out there. But I could have been living the dream. I didn't get off the ride. I blew her out for a terribly paid job in esports. So recently, again, there's been options. Richard, you can get off the ride. You can get off the ride. And I don't get off the ride because I think if I get off the ride, everyone in public will go, "Yep, we got him. We did it. We drove him
Never
away."
back down. Never give in, Richard.
And I won't
Never.
do it. Yeah. So even to my own detriment, I fight the fight just because I don't want to be seen to have back down at any point.
That's kind of how I am as well. I mean, there's been
Typical
plenty of
pride.
instances where spite just fuels the fire for me, and I'm like, oh, really? Okay, well, let me show you all the things that I'm going to tell you about right now, and just kind of be like, meh, there, look what I've done. You don't even know.
Explains a little bit why we're here every week, each week. Does it not, ladies? Does it not?
But in very honest terms, I mean, like it's such a terrible thing to admit that it is that petty almost.
It makes me
But it is genuinely how I feel. Like when I've been at my lowest ebbs in esports, like as I've said, the League of Legends community was a particularly dark time. I was being basically the Reddit moderators of that subreddit were basically allowing a witch hunt repeatedly every day of people who were just going after my work, going after me personally. They did absolutely nothing to intervene, and anytime I defended myself with my typical bullish manner, which was okay, let's have a look at you then. Let's put you under a microscope. On January 12th, you said this. Right now, you're the fucking asshole. What do you think about that? And sorry, that's my one F-bomb for the show. I apologize. But it was going so well. But how you like me now? And that's what I used to do. And then the moderators would come down on me like a ton of bricks. And then when I started writing about the moderators having a relationship with Riot, which they arguably do, and I don't think that's appropriate, and I don't think that's fair, that a neutral space on a neutral platform is being influenced on a corporate level, and they're suppressing information being put out to the community that the community needs to know. When I started talking about that, things got worse. And they used their megaphone, which was louder than mine at the time, to basically drown me out, while simultaneously allowing people to use the Reddit platform to harass me. And it got to the point where I actually had to leave my house because someone had leaked my address and were basically threatening to come around and kill me and my girlfriend. And that was I had to go for the one holiday I had in the last 3 years was because someone threatened to kill us both. And I was like, hey, do you want to go away this weekend, honey? I got a great idea. Let's go away and not get stabbed to death. How about that, right?
Let's be spontaneous.
It doesn't get more spontaneous than a death threat, really. So
leads into a question that I have for you.
Mm.
And it's, a lot of people call you controversial. Do you actually think that you're controversial, or do you think that you're saying what everyone thinks and no one has the balls to say?
I mean, obviously, everyone likes to believe that, right? And I think the most boorish and ignorant people I've ever met in my life all say the same thing. You know, like I just say what everyone else is afraid of saying. Like, oh, well, you just shut up, please. Like you know, you hate those people, obviously. So I try not to say it that way. But I think what's happened is the bar for what is controversial has just reduced so much, because of social media and because of moral outrage on the internet, that actually what causes outrage now, what causes controversy, is simply having a dissenting opinion. I mean, that's all you have to do to be controversial. And, you know, this can be, you know, from both sides of the equation. We've already alluded to Gamergate. You know, I would argue that the biggest amount of harassment that I've actually seen comes from the, you know, the kind of anti-Gamergate standpoint. Maybe people have different experiences to me, but you know, I've seen a lot of people, just because I come out and said, for example, I described Gamergate as a consumer movement rather than the harassment movement it's purported to be. I've never seen any evidence that supports that narrative. If I did, I would obviously go with the facts. I'm a journalist. I pride myself on that. But actually, what I've seen is that the people that are doing the kind of coordinated harassment, and that's been demonstrably proven to be the case, are on the opposite side of that argument. And it's happened to me. You know, I ended up on Twitter block bots when I got picked for to be on an esports awards panel recently. I had people like Brianna Wu saying that I shouldn't be on that panel. Well, there's very few people that have that level of expertise in esports that I do, because most people get off the ride because it's terrible. Yeah. So I win by default. And yet here was the debate, because I work for Breitbart, is it appropriate that I, you know, I'm on that panel? So I've had the harassment, and I do think all you have to do is just express an opinion or align yourself with a political affiliation that is considered to be not vogue. And I think that's very sad. And I think you can see it reflected in university campuses across America and Britain now, and increasingly in Europe, like Sweden and Germany. I think we're moving away from this. What made people great intellectually was being willing to expose yourself to ideas you're maybe not comfortable with. That was what happened when I went to university. That was the first thing we got taught. You know, it was like, this is what I went into classes where I was learning about, you know, philosophy from. I studied philosophy initially before I switched to journalism, and I was learning about philosophy of people that were basically endorsing Nazism. Now, I don't support that. Haircut, you know, it might be misleading. You know, I don't support any right-wing ideologies, far-right ideologies, and yet here I was learning about people who were endorsing eugenics at university. This wouldn't happen now. They would be taken off the curriculum and to create a safe space. So the bar of what is controversial has completely dropped to a level where all you have to do is just say something somebody doesn't like on the internet, and if it blows up and it goes viral, the mob comes for you. And that's it. So am I controversial? I guess by today's standards, yes. If I'd had social media 10 years ago, no, absolutely not.
Yeah. I have something controversial we can all talk about.
Go on.
Well, I have a lot of things controversial we could talk about. Okay. Well, let's just bring up the whole DreamHack thing, because I've been on your side since day one, but that's because let's
give a little backstory.
Yeah, I'm gonna let Richard give the story for the 3 people maybe in chat that didn't hear it. But I just want to say before we talk about it that I've been on your side since day one, and I think that the way it all happened, transpired, was super unprofessional on their end. So yeah, just tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, so real quick, I tweeted a joke, which was I found a sign,
which was funny,
which said a proud mother of a player who was playing at this tournament. I didn't know where the sign came from. I thought maybe I knew the player's mother wasn't at the event, so I thought maybe it was some sort of joke from a fan or something. I picked up the sign. I took a photo of it on my bed in the morning before I went to rehearsal and said, just kick the groupie out, because I know the player. So the joke is I slept with the player's mother. You know, maybe it's not very mature, but that's the level of Counter-Strike banter. You know, might not be my finest comedic hour, okay, but it was a bit of joke between some friends. And anyway, The next thing I know is that the sign apparently belonged to somebody who worked in the industry, a manager for Alliance called Kelly, and she is she's with one of the players for Alliance, a player called Loader. Now, I know nothing about Dota. I find their community to be absolutely abhorrent. I want no part of it. I've never wanted any part of it. It doesn't interest me at all. I found them to be elitist to begin with, and now I find them elitist and insufferable because for some reason they've adopted all these Swedish values where it's just like this nightmare of misandry and hate towards anyone, and progressive to the point of stupidity. I just can't be bothered with that. It's foolishness, and it's a phase, and it's a fad, and it'll die out. And I've got nothing to offer that at all. Anyway, so she and her boyfriend were basically tweeting at me saying they're going to come and find me, and I'm working an event, and I'm like, I kind of would rather get the confrontation over with if indeed there's going to be a confrontation. So I'm like, look, I'm on this stage. What are you guys doing? I think Alliance had gone out of the tournament, so a little bit of a barb again. And she comes backstage and starts shouting at me, and I tell her in very unflattering terms to go away. And then her boyfriend decides to come over and defend her honor or whatever you want to call it. And as he's walking towards me, he's gone past security guards. I've got 2 DreamHack staff next to me, and he's allowed to come this close, and I don't know the guy. So had it been a Counter-Strike player or somebody I knew a bit better, I could maybe gauge whether or not he's likely to get violent. But certainly where I'm from, you don't allow somebody to invade your personal space like that. So hands were deployed. Apparently may have been around his neck. I don't know. I just sort of grabbed the closest point, and then it blew up into this thing where I basically wrestled the player to the floor and choked him out. like I was a vintage MMA fighter, which it didn't happen. It didn't happen like that at all. And it was actually him who took it to social media after we'd all been told, nobody talk about it. Let's keep a lid on this. It's an embarrassing incident. Now, to give the balanced version, I could have definitely avoided that situation. I think it's if I don't say that, I'm being disingenuous. I could have avoided it. Again, there were several points to get off. I didn't because of this don't back down attitude, and it probably wasn't appropriate to have that attitude live at an event. But at no point did I feel it was actually going to escalate to violence until it looked like it was going to escalate to violence. I consider DreamHack to have had a security failing. It's not the first one they've had. They've had numerous people come on stage during their events, and it's been a real concern. Every DreamHack event we attend, DreamHack have become increasingly terrible at looking after their talent, even to the point when we did the Kluge Major, we didn't even have bottled water for 2 days. I mean, it's not been a happy marriage with DreamHack for some time. And then, of course, they held me up as a sacrificial lamb to the people on social media because there's this relationship between the person who witnessed the incident, a guy called Hellspawn, who's obviously from Sweden, knows Alliance very well. Alliance are technically kind of owned by Twitch because they're run by GGA. There's all these weird relationships there. It just basically made more sense to cast me adrift. So it sucks, but it hasn't really affected my career apart from the fact I am getting a little bit tired of joking jokes now. I won't lie.
It's like it's a little old now, guys. Can we just move on to the next thing?
At least we know what you're into.
MMA or the player, or both.
I was gonna say, or both.
I mean, the thing is though, is I think the fact that you freely admit that the situation could have been handled better speaks volumes. Because we had a discussion on this after it happened, and a lot of us kind of agreed that the situation could have been handled better. We all know this, and looking back on it, I think you understand that and you freely acknowledge it. And I think that it's hi Moosey. Moose. Sorry. I'm like a cat up there and I get distracted. But I think the issue though is the fact that when you look at esports, you look at all of these relationships that people have with all these companies, and instead of punishing people who deserve to be punished, you always offer up the sacrificial lamb. Basically, basically you're the lion from Narnia.
Well, I'm
Aww.
Aslan.
You're Aslan.
It's
That's
nice.
such a
It's
cute
nice.
reference.
It's nice to be Aslan, who of course was based on Christ.
I was gonna say he
Yeah,
was
like-
based on
Oh.
Christ.
That-
So
If
you're
I didn't
pretty
have
much
an ego
Jesus.
already,
Right. If your head didn't fit through
Big
the
news
door,
now. Richard saying he's Christ-like. Watch it.
Well, I'm
sure
It's gonna happen now.
All
Here
over
comes the articles.
All
Here
over
comes the
Twitter.
articles.
Comparing
Yeah,
himself to Christ. This is what
yeah.
happens now.
No,
I
but,
think-
but sorry, go on.
No, I was gonna totally cut you off and move on because Tiff has another controversial topic
Okay. Cool.
that just happened, and we would like to hear your opinion on this.
Okay, sure.
Holly-Ann, I feel like you can discuss this topic a little bit better because I'm so on the outside skirts of the
She's
esports.
still
Like,
picking her jaw up off the floor, to be perfectly honest. Is what's going on in this.
Oh my god.
Holly, I just feel like you can talk about this a lot better than I can. Like I said, I've got such an outside view on all of it. It's a great
But
topic.
can I talk about it and not be an asshole?
I think
I
you
think
can be
this is a
informative.
challenge you
I
need to
can.
accept.
I
You
can.
can. You
We-
good? You got this.
faith
I'm
in
sad
you.
pants today. It's fine. I got it.
Okay. It's
I'll
my
take
birthday
it.
in 2 days, and I am growing into a mature adult. So I'm
And
gonna.
guys, while she's gathering her thoughts, don't forget, use that birthday hashtag because you are part of this conversation. We are allowing you to get in and ask the questions to Richard and us in the panel. Don't forget, this is a chat, not just a one-sided conversation.
And before I continue on, can I just say that Murderous Nibbler in chat is like obsessed with you, and he's been just as excited for you to come on as I
Oh.
have.
He
And
has
he's
been.
literally been telling me the whole entire time, please tell him that I love him. He's really cool. So
All right,
getting
thank
it out of the way so that he stops
Great,
typing that shit.
great username as well. Futurama references are brilliant. So.
You made his life.
Everybody
So-
loving Richard, throw up your hearts, please. Throw up your hearts. Show some love to Richard.
Side
If you
note,
got
there's a
your
Nibbler
Phoenix,
pop
throw 'em
figure
up.
coming out.
Murderous Nibbler still alive?
Murderous-
That's the question.
Murderous-
Like
Murderous
now that
alive.
that just okay. Okay,
He's
Murderous
okay.
Nibbler is still alive. We're good.
I'm spamming chat. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, so the topic, which is Tiff's, which she is like very humbly passed,
Totally
is-
graciously pass that one.
is about the whole Freakazoid, Simple, Stewie situation. I saw you retweet Thorin's thing response, which I watched and thought was absolutely brilliant. I loved every part of it.
Yeah.
I just am personally thrilled that finally something has happened to this magnitude because I have known this kid for almost 12 years now. I've been landing with him in SoCal since beginning of Source, and he was always terrible to me. He harassed me multiple occasions. No one ever said anything to him. He was a complete douchebag. Then he joined Cloud9, and I'm thinking, okay, I got to give him the benefit of the doubt. I have to be friendly because he's an adult now. He's not 15 anymore, and we've all been 15 and stupid at LANs. So I got to give him that because I've said my fair share of dumb things, and people are still holding those things against me 12 years later. So I totally wasn't going to be that person. But he just seemed to me, and these are my opinions, not our nonprofits. These are my opinions. He just seems like a douchebag to me, and he seems just like he hadn't changed much. Like the flexing when he's coming out, and just like very like ew to me. But I have back history
Jimmy
with him.
Kimmel, you.
So when this whole thing came about and I saw what he did, and we watched the YouTube video of him, in my opinion, bullying Simple. And can we just throw out there that Simple's stats are better than Freakazoid's? I just want to throw that out there. Freakazoid is not very good at Counter-Strike Go. He was amazing at Source, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But I just want to know kind of what you think about the whole situation. If you really feel like it's cyberbullying, if it was more like, I hate the word trolling because I feel like a lot of people that are cyberbullied and they have changed that term to trolling, and I don't feel like trolling is cyberbullying. I feel like they're separate. So I kind of want to know what you think about this whole situation.
Well, first of all, I'm immensely surprised that he would have engaged in any sort of harassment of you. And again, I'm sure if this was to come out or someone was to make an odd shot of it or whatever, I'm sure he'd feel thoroughly ashamed. But what I will say is, I didn't go to bat for him because I think that's too strong a term. But I do try and look at things as objectively as possible. And for me, all my interactions with Ryan have been entirely positive. I'm trying to think of a time they haven't been, and I'm really struggling. Now, again, whether this is because, you know, we're both kind of big, burly guys, he's definitely in better shape. I think we could agree that at least.
But you have plenty of inches on him because he's very short.
Well,
so
I won't make the obvious joke at this point, Holly. You did set me up for one. I appreciate it. But I'm going to let it go in the interest of maturity, if that's it. So anyway, you know, he's you know, I've always had positive experiences with him, but everybody I've talked to has pretty much, you know, not everyone, but I mean, a large number of people came forward in this aftermath and said, I'm really glad that, you know, this has kind of come to light, because he tried to fight me at this event. He tried to intimidate me at this event. And I think what people don't really understand is that there is this undercurrent of violence actually still a little bit in our FPS competitive scene, in the sense that there's a lot of machismo. The game lends itself to that because it's reaction based. You're running around, you're shooting each other in the face, you're trash talking each other while you're doing it. It's very high stakes, more so now than ever. And I think sometimes that aggression, that adrenaline can maybe spill over into after a game. You got to someone and you're like, well, what's up, right? Okay, you might have beat me there, but what about now? You know, and I definitely saw that a lot when I was playing Counter-Strike Source. There was a lot of that, especially in NA and the UK. Now, all of that said, I watched the video of what he did to Simple. I didn't think it was very nice. I didn't think it was a good look. I wouldn't use the term bullying. And I'll tell you why. I believe it's very important when defining bullying there has to be, first of all, a element where it's persistent. And this was a one-off. Had he been doing it for a prolonged period of time, I think, yes, we can call it bullying. Equally as well, I think you have to have a lack of control, in the sense that you can't recuse yourself from the situation. You're in genuine harm, either verbally or physically. You can't get away. And of course, on the internet, I just turn my PC off. So, which isn't to diminish anyone who's experienced cyberbullying, but again, I see cyberbullying as being something that might happen, say, when a young adult has a Facebook account and something happens at school, and then they come home and they're unable to get away from it because every time they go onto Facebook, all their friends are messaging them. I consider that to be more a cyberbullying thing than what happened here, which was a one-off incident of trash talking. Now, all of that said, it's not a good look. I think some punitive measures were definitely appropriate. The organization took them in finding him. I think he gets a little bit hysterical, and I mean that as not funny, but pertaining to hysteria, when we start sending professional Counter-Strike players to anti-bullying seminars. I honestly think we're maybe being a little bit crazy here. That's, again, my opinion. It's certainly not necessarily the right way. I think that's a step too far, and it almost makes the situation borderline surreal and absurd. So all this told, I think Freakazoid, I can almost identify a little bit. I think he's been crucified to something that goes on almost on a daily basis. I think the fact that he's been crucified will no doubt improve the scene. I don't think he'll ever trash talk again. But equally, what I'm worried about now is him becoming a target, where in the same way people were goading Simple every game he played to get a reaction, now everyone's going to be goading Freakazoid because they know they hold his career in the palm of their hand, and I think that's potentially a dangerous precedent. So,
but don't you have to expect that if you put yourself in that situation, or if you're in the public eye and you don't act professional, that you're going to have those repercussions?
I mean, I think, yes, but equally, one of the things that I hate about modern society, and again, this social media access and the way celebrity, for want of a better phrase, works these days, I think the thing that I hate most about it is this idea that you enter into a Faustian pact, where if you do something that somebody else finds morally reprehensible at any time, your whole life can be over.
Polarized.
Your career, yeah, and I genuinely find that to be alarming and not how I would want a society to behave. We can change that on our online society. I don't think we're ever going to change it in the bigger picture. I think employers looking at employees' Facebooks and social media and holding them accountable for that and picking people on job interviews based on that, I think that's gone too far now. We really needed to make a bigger stand about that when it was happening, because we're losing our individual liberty.
So we have a fantastic question, Cyclops. I want to hear a female versus male perspective on trash talking video games. When is good to hear it, and
Do you really? Do you really?
So
I have so much
I want to answer this too. I love this question.
Let me throw out the mod hammer and say that Pixie will go first. Then we'll roll over to
my opinions are not the opinions of other people because I fucking love trolls and I'm a giant in troll too. Totally fine with it. Here's the thing. I've played games professionally. I've been in situations where like your entire goal is to tilt the enemy team and do things that put them on tilt so they play like shit. Like absolute shit. So the thing is you have to look at where your personal line is and judge it from there. Not everyone is gonna be the same. But if somebody can come up to me and be like, yo bitch, what's up? And I'm like, hey, like I know that's a line that I can cross with somebody else who has a similar relationship to me. Like I know that is most likely okay. And it's kind of put yourself in the other person's shoes and don't go further than you would want to be pushed. And I think that's the problem is that a lot of the time we don't think about that. We just continue. So I'm all for like, if you can do it to me, I'm going to do it to you. Like that's it.
Yeah, like one of those don't dish out where you can't handle kind of
if
deals.
you can't handle it, you shouldn't be fucking giving it to me.
My whole thing. I'm sorry. Do you want to go?
Nope, go.
Okay. My whole thing with stuff like that is right kind of along the lines with Pixie. I mean, if you could trash talk me and you can't handle me trash talking you back, then why are you trash talking? There's no room for that to happen. And there's been plenty of times where I've been in a chat and I've shut a dude up because I just keep going back. I'm like, oh, you want to play this game? Let's fucking go. But on the other side, there's days where I don't want to fucking play the game. I'm like, capture the flag, guy. Get the fucking A, get the flag. They're all my fucking for the afternoon. So I'm like, just go. And they're like, oh, get in the kitchen. I'm like, I'm trying to get us to win. I just want to work as a team. And I don't want to trash talk. And so that comes to a point where I'm just like, fine, no mic. And then
if you want me in the kitchen, you need to buy a shorter chain.
Like, you gonna buy like all of my new like kitchen supplies because I need some like wooden spoons right now. Can you send them for my Amazon wishlist because I really do need those. Anyway, I like cooking. I was cooking earlier. But that's one of those things where it's like
such a girl.
Yeah, you've done it now. You shouldn't have said that.
Yeah, you shouldn't have.
That's fine. You guys want to shop for my Amazon wishlist? Let's totally
Hey Casey, slow it down. I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding.
Right? There's like
had to bring it back.
Leggings,
had to bring it back.
kitchen things, all kinds of girly stuff. I'm a girl and I play video games. Deal with it. I like doing, girly things and I like doing like guy things, like playing games and stuff. This is one of those things where I kind of deal with some trash talking in real life since I'm part of the retail side. I'll have guys come up to me like, what's a girl game for my little girl? Or, oh, do you actually play games or do you just work here? Stuff like that. Or like, oh, is there a guy I could talk to because I need to talk to somebody else? Like that's trash talking in real life to my face. And I can sit there and be like, okay, we're going to play this game. I'm going to school you on all this information right now. So, I mean, when it comes to online gaming stuff, Pixie's right is you kind of have to know your audience. You have to know your people. You have to know who you can talk to about that stuff. And I think it's one of those weird things because like if you're a people person in real life, you have to be able to listen to the sound of somebody's voice and know what makes them uncomfortable. Yes, there's cues visually if you're watching somebody and you're saying something to them, say you guys are on Skype and you're playing a game together and you say something, you kind of see them wince, then that's something that you would know that bothered them. Or you can actually hear that change in someone's voice. Where I've been on plenty of matches where I just, party up with somebody because we worked really well. We just started working with each other without actually talking to each other. Then you join a party and then you just kind of start joking around. And then it gets to a point where you're like, dude, that's not cool. Why did you just say that? Like, now I don't want to play with you anymore because you just ruined everything, and you hear that drop in their voice. They're like, oh shit, why did I say that? You obviously didn't want to, joke around that way. And it's just trying to read people is a very difficult thing to do online. And I try not to trash talk. If I do trash talk, I don't have my headset on and I'm screaming at my TV. And that's probably the safest way for me to talk shit. Because if I want them to hear it I'll make it happen, but I'm one of those people where like I know how much it sucks to be trash talked to. So unless I'm within a safe group of people where I already know that I can, I'm not going to go out there and do it on purpose. I think that makes sense. I'm done now.
Go ahead, Howie.
So, for those of you that don't know, I'm a Counter-Strike player. I've been playing Counter-Strike since I was 12 years old, since 1.6. So that's pretty much my go-to game. So I'm a FPS person, and there's, as we've been talking about, there's lots of trolling and yelling and all of that goes on. I am totally fine with like the trolling banter. Like, I love when people call me bad and I go 38-6. I love when people are like, you're terrible, and I keep killing them mid every round. Like, I love that, and like, I'm all about that. The thing that I have a problem with, and disclaimer, this is not everyone's views here, not the view of the nonprofit. I am the opposite, almost polar of a feminist, and everyone in here
Wait. We don't use the word feminist because
I know.
we're not.
Yeah.
So everyone's been posting that, and it's pissing me off because I'm like, first off, like if you want to use that term, which like Shriv said, we don't really believe in that here. I am like ultra conservative. Like I have very interesting views compared to most women in the gaming industry. So first off, I just want to throw that out there before I state anything because you're already thinking of it wrong. I don't like when the stuff's completely directed at me because of my gender. And if I'm feeling that as an ultra conservative, like not normally like that, then it's pretty strong. So it's like to come in and be like, oh, we have another Casey Tron in here, or oh wow, suck my dick, or oh whatever. It's like, can we just keep it to like game level banter? Because like I'm fine with that. Like, but directing it completely towards my sex is ridiculous. The reason that's ridiculous is because it doesn't happen like that to men. Like sometimes it does with that, but not really. Like trolling's one thing, and that's fun, but like to make it directly about how I'm a female and I'm playing with you, and oh gosh, we have a girl trying to call strats, like, or oh, automatic lose because we have a girl on our team.
Oh,
like,
that's the best. And then when you win,
Really?
and you like totally destroy all of them, you're like, oh, I'm sorry. Did I do good? Did I
like
do better than you?
When I'm teabagging you and you're lying on the ground and it's this voice,
it's just,
and you gotta get off because your
vengeful.
mind's
I'm like, oh,
fine.
you're gonna teabag me?
Like,
Guess what
I
target
don't
you just put
have
on
a
your head?
swastika on my vagina, like because
it's just so,
That's called real gameplay.
I just can't handle it.
I mean, here's the thing: like you say, that we don't have the equivalent, of being attacked for our gender, and you're right in a way. We generally tend to get attacked predicated on our masculinity. That's the way you sort of cut a man down to size.
Yeah.
And just to
yeah,
talk,
you're a faggot. You have a
yeah,
swastika,
exactly.
But it's not the second you talk in a matchmaking intense fence.
No. I mean, look,
Unless you have a high pitched voice, and then you automatically get
yeah.
called.
If you're one of the squeakers,
if you're
then known. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Look, here's my stance on what happens on the internet when it comes to trash talking. And first of all, as well, I may as well get the statistical part of it out here. While I'm definitely sympathetic to anybody that gets attacked on the internet to a point that they feel like they don't want to be on the internet anymore, they don't want to partake, whatever it is they're partaking of, whether it's playing games or streaming or whatever else. The numbers on this are very clear, and there was a Pew study about online harassment in 2014, and while some again the F word feminists, which I know I would absolutely not tar any of you with that brush, I know better, that the feminists have tried to attack Pew and say, well, this is a patriarchal institution. It's like the gold standard of statistical research. And what they've shown is that actually men are harassed more and verbally abused more on the internet in 44% of instances versus 37, respectively. Now, when it comes to being called offensive names, the disparity between men and women is even bigger. 32% of men have been called offensive names, and 22% of women are called offensive names. So we get it on a more frequent basis. You're right, it's just not gender targeted, but it's targeted at things like masculinity. It can just be targeted at your ability, or whether you're good at something. It's ways to kind of chop you down to size. So the trash talking for me is that I think you have to be, if you're going to play a competitive game or play a competitive sport, you're going to encounter that. you're going to encounter that, and you need to be able to try and convert that into, I want to do better, I want to prove them wrong. And the other point I wanted to make is just to be absolutely clear about it. Anybody that's just trolling you to make you feel miserable, and again, sorry, I won't use that term trolling, you're absolutely right, Holly. Anyone who's abusing you or berating you to make you feel bad, they're looking for attack vectors. That's all they're looking for. It's how can I hurt this person? How can I get under the hood and find a soft spot? So a very easy one for a woman is to attack their gender and to try and imply, hey, as a man, I'm superior to you.
Now,
Because
a side note,
a response.
a side note to that too is a lot of women admit to not even having mics on or having a female-looking username because they are, they've been harassed in the past, or they're afraid of it, or they've had friends that had happened.
Selecting a female character in a game when there's an option.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I feel like statistics are always up in the air. You can always do this,
Absolutely.
that one. And I feel, me personally, just from talking to other females and being involved in the female community, it's one of those things where, a lot of us don't want to show that we're female online. And that if you change your username to I love lamp, you don't know if you're male or female. And that person, if they're not wearing a mic, they're not, talking, they're going to get less harassment than the person that's like Jessica 67, and, maybe even Mike 28 or, just different kinds of usernames and stuff too. So, I think that part takes a play into some of those statistics, and it's just one of those things where it's all a numbers game, and you're always going to be able to throw numbers at it. I do think that takes a part into it.
I actually think people who do that, women who would actively disguise their gender to avoid this abuse that they think that they may encounter if they don't, I actually think that becomes almost like this self-fulfilling prophecy. It actually contributes to the problem. And you're absolutely right. Maybe it isn't fair to say to people, hey, you should be the martyrs for this particular cause. But again, I would argue this is hypocritical, because if we're going to say to someone like Casey Tron, we don't like what you're doing because it perpetuates a negative stereotype. Well, I think we need to acknowledge that there's this culture of there are no girls on the internet. So when we encounter one, we engage in this like, hey, make me a sandwich, perform fellatio on me, blah, blah. All this nonsense that we'll engage in, because it is a rarity. And the type of children that are going to engage in that behavior, they don't encounter many women. I would certainly say that probably is not going out to nightclubs and pubs, and I would say their pickup game is particularly strong. Let's put it that way. They probably is actually a very, very shy and introverted, and this has been proven a lot of the time when they've done analysis of people who engage in abuse online, that they're not very high functioning when it comes to having social relationships outside of things. So the rarity, the scarcity actually contributes to this, perpetuation of it happening, I think. And this is why if more and more, it sucks when it happens, but if we can all just start normalizing that women play games, I think in 2 years from now, we are past this problem. It's when something becomes absolutely normal. think about attitudes towards homosexuality, gay marriage, whatever it is. The idea that 10 years ago it would have been like I used to have friends that I considered intellectually capable who would say they would support laws that teachers couldn't be gay, and I would look at them and just be like, I don't get where this is coming from. And they were locked into this idea that, well, that's how they recruit, isn't it? That's how gays, they can't breed, so they have to go out and recruit. So a gay teacher somehow will make gay pupils, just this nonsense, this absolute gibberish that's coming out of their mouth. And of course, it's the normalization of people being open and proud and out of the closet and happy to be what they are in public. And now everyone's like, God, why do we even have a problem with that? I think we're getting to that point. Like, why were we bothered? It was absurd.
One of the things that I'm really excited about is seeing a female presence in person with gaming. Because again, studies and numbers are showing that more and more females are actually playing games. But I think that seeing females in tournaments, seeing females in stores buying games, selling games, being there, being physically there has been a lot better over the years, and it's slowly getting more and more better. love hiring females that are super passionate about playing games and talking about games, and I love seeing that because then that makes other people more aware that, hey, this girl really likes playing games. And like I've said countless times, I've gotten, is there a man in the store I can talk to? I'm like, no, it's just us girls tonight, but we can answer your questions.
And I think that's something else. I think that's something else. I think that's deplorable, frankly. So.
Well, that's something that's, you know, it's one of those things where if I get to change the mind of somebody that maybe talks shit online and I would never encounter them online, but I've got to meet them in person and they're like, oh, okay, we've had a conversation about this from face to face. I think that's little things too that, you know, other females and other males and everyone can actually do in person to help out the community.
And that's one of the reasons why we do this every week, is because we feel passionate about seeing what you said, Tiff, the representation of ourselves out in the community, being able to, not everyone's able to step out in front of the camera or go to a convention and speak and be front and center like we are. Like you said, some people don't even use a mic, some people don't use a cam, some people do not game online, period, because they feel that they don't have the thick skin. So therefore, we are here to be able to go to these conventions, sit on the panels and represent the women and the men, because it's not just a female thing, it is a community-wide thing that needs to be brought into the light and talked about. And we have a lot of partners, a lot of people that we work with at different conventions, different companies that are willing to sit and have these types of conversations with us. So it's not just you guys in chat, it's other people that matter having these conversations. The more we have these conversations, the more like Richard says on, you know, a lot of his shows, the more people are going to listen, the sooner things are going to change. But they won't change unless we're doing this, talking and actually talking in a manner where we're not cursing each other out, we're not trolling each other, we're not, you know, ripping each other down, but we're building each other up and educating each other on how we feel and what we can tolerate. So we appreciate you guys being here this week. We appreciate Richard being here this week.
Super important.
Go ahead, Tiggs.
That I talk about all the time is like, change doesn't just happen overnight. And like, for every girl that has their mic off or doesn't have a cam or doesn't play online, like, I issue this challenge. If you want things to change, like, you have to come out of the closet and you have to start helping. Because what you're doing is not helping. It's like I say all the time, if you want women main characters in high quality video games, you need to buy every video game with a female protagonist. Every game, because you have to prove that that is something that can be successful. I don't care if the game is absolute shit. If you don't buy it to show that you support it, then you're not gonna get what you want out of it. Like, money talks. Money talks big. Like, we've had, like, we talked about the cover for The Killing Joke. Like, that was removed. And guess what? People who love comics, like me, stopped buying. Like, we proved that we were not okay with it by not buying it anymore. Like, that speaks volumes. Because money is all that talks right now.
I think it's interesting, actually, just on a side, that I did notice there was an update on Counter-Strike, and there's a feminist fist in the symbol of womanhood, and a lot of people have been maybe wondering what this means, whether it's like some foreshadowing for something. I think we should probably at this point have female models in Counter-Strike. It's not as if historically there haven't been any prominent female terrorists or counter-terrorists, which to sort of draw on that basis. And I think just little things like that will eventually kind of drip feed into normalizing this playing experience. You know, for example, maybe you don't have a microphone, but if you have the ability to pick between a male or a female skin at the start of a game, then, you know, some guys are going to play with females' skins, you know, for the extra trolling value or whatever you want to call it. And sometimes it'll be women who are picking that. And then all of a sudden,
they like to look at butts.
Yeah, that too, right? I have no doubt they'll be hypersexualized, obviously, it's a computer game. But you know, I think little things like this actually get us to a place where it's like, we stop worrying so much about it. And ultimately, in an FPS game, in any competitive game, it should just be about your skills. I don't mind trash talking someone if you're bad. I think that comes with the territory. I think if you waste somebody's time by being bad at a game, a minimum amount of trash talk is to be expected. But just trashing on someone who comes into a game because you think they might be bad because they're a woman or they've got a squeaky voice or whatever, it's a ridiculous standpoint.
Something else that someone just messaged me, he's not active on the chat. I'm not really sure why. He's 16, so I don't know if that's why. But he messaged me on Steam, and he plays Counter-Strike. He's like trying to get into the professional scene and, this and that. I met him at a meet and greet last year, and it was great. He's adorable. But something that he didn't bring it up in this way, but I can't bring it up in the way he brought it up because it would be not appropriate. But I would love to because I totally agree with this point. So, okay. Granny, I'm for you. But the whole separation in Counter-Strike and in esports for women teams versus male teams. Now, of course, a lot of women, they view it as, oh, well, this is great for women. Women are out there, they're on the scene, they're playing competitively, but I don't see it like that. I see it as I want to play with everybody. And if I'm not good enough to be on the regular Cloud9, then I don't want to be on the girl team of Cloud9 just to kind of throw me over there because I'm a girl. I don't agree with that. And that doesn't mean that I'm right and someone else is, wrong or whatever. It's just my opinion. But I'm interested to see, what do you think about that? Because I'm not going to name any names, but the top female Counter-Strike team is atrocious. They are atrocious. They're not friendly people. I could go on and 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 on, but I don't want to get my ass kicked. But they suck. So why is this happening? Either we're good enough to play with everybody else or we're not, so don't play us.
The argument that always gets used for this is barrier to entry, right? That's what everyone says. It's a barrier to entry. Yep. We can't get more women into competitive gaming unless they have a safe environment in which they feel that they can play, and the best way to do that is to have it populated by other women. That's the argument. Now, I don't subscribe to that argument. I've never subscribed to that argument. And while I can understand why maybe mainstream competitive gaming, especially in Counter-Strike, could be a little bit off-putting to any women or girls that wanted to play, I got to say that I feel that is the way to go. I think it has to begin not with having 5 women on a team. I think it has to begin with women being on teams with guys. I think
Amen.
I think this is how you normalize it. But as somebody that attended a lot of these, and again, they call them female Counter-Strike tournaments. I try to avoid using the word female. I always think it kind of makes women out to be like this alien thing, if female, it sounds so scientific. So I always try and make a point of saying women. But occasionally I will have the odd lapse and use the F word, which I don't particularly like. But anyway, so when they have these female gaming tournaments, what they do is they become these disgusting, really disgusting kind of what's the way? It's almost like a photo shoot.
Yes.
They don't have anything to do with the tournaments. I can give you an example of this. So I attended an ESWC, and this might have been 2010. That's the Electronic Sports World Cup. It was in France, and they had a women's tournament running at the same time as the men's. And the women's team won it. And so it's over, and they have the winners. And the men were asking them during this press conference, basically intimating, would you be willing to kiss each other and we take a photo of it? So basically getting some sort of lesbianic titillation. Right?
My God.
And again, you want to think, and I'm thinking, I'm watching this and this is appalling. These women are going to put this guy in their place, and they didn't. They actually kissed.
Oh my God, are you kidding me?
No tongue.
Oh my gosh.
Which I guess is something. And I just thought, hang on a minute. So I started looking around, and these teams had done calendars, These teams were engaged in photo shoots where they're all wearing hot pants and crop tops. And I'm thinking, probably not conducive to a good athletic performance. As somebody that has certainly worn short shorts in my time, they tend to ride a little high. And when you're sat gaming all day and sweating, it's not very comfortable. So I don't understand. And, I don't understand why they would do that. I don't understand why they would do that. And it's almost like I feel sorry for the women that feel that they have to do that to try and get this normalized, to take some salary. Now, I've had some of my female friends, women friends, sorry, I did it again. Some of my women friends have said to me, it's actually disgusting what they do. They're exploiting the guys. It's pathetic. They can't play. They're making a living out of their sexuality. Again, I don't really mind that, but some women seem to object to it. And on the other hand, the women are going, well, what else are we supposed to do? We can't make money unless we jump through these hoops. So I would actually like to see the whole thing quashed. So I just think it brings out everyone's base instincts. Why can't we just start by having, not integrated, not everyone, a women's team is entering into a tournament. Why can't we start, maybe offering some trials for some women players to get on teams with the guys? And I've seen this happen on more than a few occasions. Certainly in Counter-Strike Source it happened. And this is where it has to start. This is how you start to normalize this idea. So yeah, I support women in gaming. I don't support women gaming, if you know.
And that's where we come to where if you are a female and you hear of a tournament and you're like, man, that'd be really great to go to, just go to it. Don't worry, about like, oh, I'm going to be the only girl. Just go. Like, they're not going to be like, oh my God, a girl's here. Like, they don't freak out that way when you actually
not anymore.
Like,
not anymore. Yeah.
And then it's one of those things too, where if you are a female, a lot of times, if there is, like someone like me or Holly Ann, we might see a lone female out in the crowd and be like, "Hey, girl, what's up? Thanks for coming out." Like, and I mean, it doesn't happen every time, but you might find that one person that is looking for other females, and then that, where you're talking about having a safe environment, that does comfort some females and that does comfort other people, that's just like having a safe room to go to, like we've talked about before, where you have your why can't I think of the words?
Well, I'm gonna take over for you because
you know what I'm talking about. But
this
we can go on
barrier
forever.
to entry is what happens in almost everything in society, whether it's male or female, but primarily male when we're talking about gender-based issues.
AFK rooms.
We have this in everything. This comes up everywhere. A prime example is for myself in real life. Last night, my junior achiever is going into high school. The high school robotics team and engineering classes, they segregated them. They said, oh, by the way, we have engineering, but there's a boy class and a girl class. And my daughter stood up in front of everyone in the gymnasium and said, why are you segregating us? Why do I have to go to the girl class? Why can't I take the class with everyone else?
I love your Minnie.
She's great.
They said, well, because we have a program designed by the city to help girls feel more comfortable taking these types of classes. We don't want you to be intimidated by the boys. And she said, it should be the boys who should be intimidated by me. I prefer to be in the class with everyone else. And, of course, I had to take her aside and say, we'll talk about this later with the principal. However...
But I'm going to take you to ice cream while we talk about it, because...
The barrier to entry is always there for us. It is how we handle it. It is how we take it. And it is how we evolve it. And like the ladies are saying, if there is something that interests you, go for it. Represent. Be there. Present yourself and be the force to be reckoned with, because then we can get past the barrier. It will no longer be there because we are standing there. We're present. We're in the moment. It's the only way it's going to change.
And it just goes to show you how ridiculously stilted it is. That there is a genuine danger in any sort of form of positive discrimination or whatever you want to call it. And again, there you are. You're telling me that you've got these segregated engineering classes, okay, which is being championed as a good idea by the people who've put this forward,
right.
Not so much by the recipients and beneficiaries in inverted commas. Meanwhile, when Timothy Hunt, the Nobel Prize-winning scientist, he made a joke at a conference in Seoul in South Korea. He made a joke saying, I believe there should be segregated laboratories. And then he gave a joke about it. I fell in love with my wife in one of them and blah, blah, blah. And it was all part of a broad joke that was blown up. He actually lost his job, over that. So this is what I mean. We exist in this weird kind of limbo where it's like some people are saying, hey, segregation's a good thing, and then other people come out and go, yeah, I agree with that, segregation's awesome. And you can't say that. You're can't. It's our segregation. Ain't your how do you own segregation?
Yeah, you can't because you're a man.
Yeah,
but I can because I'm a woman.
It's like, oh my God, it's like the feminist rhetoric with men, where it's like, we don't need you to stand up for us. We got this. Take your dick somewhere else.
Yeah, like you can't even be in solidarity with it. You know, I just find it so hilarious. Like all those guys who self-define as feminists. Like I just pity those guys. Like seriously, because I got news flash. Whatever you think's gonna happen at the end of that magical journey towards being a male feminist, it ain't happening. You're never gonna be in the club. Never. It's just sad. But you know,
Sorry, I'm cutting you off again. I'm such an a-hole.
No, it's okay.
We have so many.
It's ridiculous. Yeah.
We have so many chat questions. One of them is ridiculous.
You guys are awesome. Thank you so much.
One of these questions is absolutely absurd. A part of it's absurd. I'm still going to read it.
Guys, before she reads that, we're coming up in the last 15 to 20 minutes of the show. We can't hold Richard all night. But we
although I would like to.
I got at least another hour. I'm literally I got.
Yes!
I can stay here. There may a bathroom break may be required.
I was gonna say we will do a bathroom break right now. We're gonna do a bathroom break right now. Stay here.
Right now?
Host the stream if you're not hosting it already. Tweet us out. We're gonna take a 6-minute bathroom break.
6 minutes? What is this?
Come on, you can go pee in 6 minutes. We'll be back probably before
I can pee in 8 minutes. 6?
All right. Go.
Right, okay, I'll race you. Let's make
I don't know what better apartment it's
You have to run to the backyard.
3 minutes.
I don't have to pee, so everyone's going except
go, ladies, go.
Okay.
Go.
I'm going to sit here by myself and talk to everybody in chat.
Okay. So, do I need to cover my camera?
No,
Is
you
that
don't.
The rule?
I have to be right back to you.
Okay, good, excellent.
Okay, so I'm going to address that question because I'm sorry, but there's no one on that team, Ron, that's good. I'm sorry to tell you, but there isn't. There's no one. Just watch them play. There's no one good.
They're trying to get you riled up, Holly Ann, so you join the team. That's their entire thing. They're like, if we suck bad enough, I bet Holly Ann's going to come join us and
I literally think that's what they're trying to do too.
That's what it is. I'm telling you.
Way,
why girls don't
compete? Holly, we have 2 new subs this month for you two 1v1. So you will be getting that sub list.
I'm excited.
We're gonna have to start putting them on the schedule.
That's quite exciting. I'm ready. I'm ready for some 1v1s. As long as I got my op, yes. I'm ready to go. And now
I should make it all pistols 1v1.
Holly Ann,
I'm a beast at USP, so bring it.
I have a Counter-Strike question.
Yes.
Do you have to play with mouse and keyboard, or is it controller optionable?
Wow. I think my heart may have just stopped during the question. I'm trying.
I don't ever play it. I have no idea.
I'm trying to decide how to answer it. I'm trying to decide if I should answer it like
the nice answer
or like answer it my opinion.
Well, the truth would be nice because
yes,
the truth would be nice.
Yes, you can, but you shouldn't. Come to the peaceful dark side.
Fees? I can't do anything but art with fees. Can't.
I can teach you.
But I got an elite controller, yo.
You can teach me and her at the same time, and we'll just not stream it because
the boss over
I'll stream with you.
Wants me to thank you for
It'd be
supporting
fun.
the organization.
We should do that.
Thank you so much for those hosts, guys. Thank you for those hosts coming in. We appreciate it. And those follows. By the way, if you're not following us on the Twitter, you need to do it so you know when we're live next and who.
So look how many people are already mad that I would want to play.
See?
Controller.
It's not just me.
Yeah.
I was friendly about it.
of CSGO, playing with a controller.
She's
Piss
scared.
everybody up on person.
Just say that. LGB. So I might have a wrong perspective. Yeah, I mean, I've been playing with those girls for over a decade, and the only reason why I have
controller, right? Yep. Welcome, Brock 47
so nice.
The only reason I have negative things to say is because they've said negative things about my character and about me, and I've never met them before. So that's a little inappropriate because I've never done that to them. But if we're talking skill, I just don't think they're good enough. I don't think I'm good enough either. But I mean, I guess that's just kind of how the cookie crumbles. I also think Ubisoft dropped them, and no one knows. But Ubisoft dropped Frag Dolls, which everyone knows, and then like the next day, United was gone, and they were on CLG Red. And I'm not going to say who, but one of the members happens to have a relationship with one of the members of the male team. So I just kind of find all of that a little ironic. But
Frank
could
Oz
just
was going to
be-
be my example that I was going to bring up after Richard was talking about the photo shoots and the calendars of the highly sponsored team. When
I have
is my
such mixed
mixtape
feelings
drop?
about stuff like that.
My mixtape drops next Friday. That's why you got to be back here.
2027. That's when it drops.
You haven't heard Pixie and I's song? Oh, you got to hear
Oh
it.
my god, I'm gonna cut you.
Yep.
female CSGO seems like a charity event. Yeah, well, the reason why though is because that's how they're making it. That's the thing. Like, that's why I don't participate in all-female
Hashtag
teams, because I
mixtape.
think it's a joke. I've never played on an all-female team. When female teams came about, I was already Cal Invite on a male team. So I don't think that that's the way, just like we were talking about. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. If you're not good enough to play with everyone, then you're not good enough. It's like poker. You don't see a female poker league. If the
Right.
girls aren't good enough to play, then they're not playing. Play something else, sweetheart. Play Cooking Mama or like.
Oh,
I
why
don't
you
know.
gotta go to Cooking Mama? Why can't I play
Oh.
Plague Inc. or why can't
I want to play
some World
Science
of Warcraft?
Papa.
Everyone calm
Let me
down.
play Science
Okay, I
Papa.
had to bring in a kitchen reference. Calm your bodies, please.
Science
Thank
I don't
you.
want to cook.
Not kidding. It's a game for the Wii. Look it up.
Where do you think the top female team would be in a top 50? It wouldn't be there. That's where it would be.
So,
Sorry.
you know, I want to ask an off-topic question while we're all back at the table, and we've got some people that are sitting here choking right now because Cooking Mama just came out of nowhere. What,
Way to go, Holly-Ann.
Richard?
I'm an
What
ass.
game are you playing right now? If
What am I
any?
playing
Yeah,
right now?
if any.
You know, it's been such a ridiculously busy time. I haven't really had a lot of time to do anything.
All right,
I've been
what game would
working
you
my
like
way
to
through.
play? How about that?
I've been working my way through XCOM 2. Which,
Yes, Sid Meier's.
Yeah. So I've been doing that. I'm trying to think. I mean, it's really depressing actually because I've been moving around a lot. I'm playing Hearthstone, which is like the death of the soul. It's
yeah.
just such a horrible, unfun game to play. I don't know why I put
But
myself
you can
through
keep
it.
going back to it.
Yeah, it's
It's
just
one of those
pick up
things.
and play, isn't it? Like just so yeah. And I did have a couple of games of the new Counter-Strike update, obviously, just to sort of learn about it. But basically, between XCOM 2 and Blood Bowl 2, not really anything at the moment, which is like just sad. It's just a sign of the times, unfortunately. When I'm busy,
Yep.
I don't really have any time to play the games. Like literally don't. Like every time I'm here, I'm meant to be typing. So if I don't, I'm someone's gonna be disappointed or angry, and maybe someone.
If someone isn't
Maybe
angry,
fire.
you're not doing it right.
Yeah,
That's what
well,
I think.
So I have I've been trying to keep up with what's come out. I'm gonna try and finish Fallout 4 at some point.
Oof.
Primal comes
invested
out next week.
50 hours into that and haven't finished it. Yeah, and Far Cry. I've never really been a massive fan of the Far Cry series, if I'm honest. That might not be a popular thing to say.
They
So
really grew when 3 came out. Like 1 and 2 were like, meh, and then 3 kind of blew up. 4 didn't have quite the appeal I think that 3 had. It was just more of 3. And then Primal is very interesting to not have the guns and stuff. But
yeah, it's an interesting concept, sort of doing it with
Yeah.
cavemen and stuff. So I mean, yeah,
I like that they created their own language for it too. Like that part was really neat. There's some cool
That's
stuff.
one
on
that
there.
I'm gonna love to watch. Not play so much, but someone else's stream.
I'll stream it.
All right, I'll
Watch me
it.
scream every time I get trampled by a mammoth.
I'll just
Pro
death
tip,
counter,
crouch.
death counter for you. That's gonna be great.
So yeah, the short answer is not nearly as many games as I would like to be playing, unfortunately, which sucks.
So Pixie, could you please tell Seahawks how to get a girlfriend because he's gonna ask 6 more times.
What's
Who's that? Seahawk.
Okay, here's what you do. You take
Not like the Seahawks. First off.
Here, I'm gonna demonstrate. All right. So you take a pen. And you're gonna draw some eyes.
Oh boy.
Give them pretty
On
lashes.
your hands. That's all you gotta do.
There you go, Seahawks. Perfect for you.
Seahawks like, all right, I'm leaving the stream, going to get some work done, going to Daddy's. Catch you later. Okay, side note, I was outside in the sun today for some filming, And I'm wondering if it's like the sun or if I'm blushing because Richard's here still and it's been like almost 2 hours.
It's a both.
I mean,
I don't know.
You're not that red.
I mean that's also true.
I'm that white. I am that red. Trust me.
That's true, JV. Girls dig elo.
Oh gosh.
That's a thing. Too.
Get better at CS. Intense fence. I love that.
Mm.
If you can out op me mid, we can go on a date.
The only way to find that out is hit that sub button, then you get some 1v1.
Have you seen the women that do that on stream, where it's like, if you're the highest donator, you're their girlfriend, they're your girlfriend for the day? Have you seen
Maybe
it?
that's what Seahawks is looking for. He's
gonna
trying
punch
to
myself
figure which
in the
one of us
head.
gets to be his
Right.
girlfriend.
I don't know what I don't know what
Okay,
you
here we
get
go.
for your money.
Here
I
we
don't know
go.
what that entails.
Donate $500 right now. I will be your girlfriend for the day.
Hey guys, I'm streaming after
$600.
this. Go to my channel. If you donate 1.1 million, I will 1v1 you and call you my girlfriend or call you my boyfriend or girlfriend.
Or you can call it girlfriend.
Whatever works.
Free gender reassignment to agree with that.
Hang
with
on
that
a
offer.
second. Hang on a
Right.
second. Hang on a second. Wait a minute. So you mean all I gotta do to get you to be my girlfriend is donate $1.1 million?
We're already dating though.
Money well spent.
Where do
I
you think
understand
I
how
got
the
these
sister wives
diamonds
work.
from? Just kidding, they're not diamonds,
Okay,
guys.
let's go back to what we're playing.
Oh yeah, okay.
What's Pixie playing?
Okay, so I'm playing a lot of Firewatch because I
Yes,
love
you are.
Firewatch. If you're not playing Firewatch, I like highly recommend you.
Isn't it only like 3 hours?
It's supposed to be really good, though.
No, it's like super good.
But how long's the campaign?
It's not about how long it is, Holly Ann.
I was
About
watching
the
a stream.
experience.
Hold on.
It's about the experience.
Maybe not for you, Tiff. Maybe not for you.
I've heard that before.
I'm totally cutting in. I was watching
That's
a
what she
streamer and I'm
said.
like, wow, look at this game. And he's like, all right, that's it. I finished the campaign, 3 hours. I'm like, I just tuned in.
I spent like 4 hours playing it already.
Okay.
Like I don't like to run around a game and just do what it tells you.
Yeah.
I like to run around and explore as much as I can, especially in games like that. I've also been playing a lot of League of Legends,
Back in the league, huh?
and a lot of Don't Starve because I love Chester.
So
if you don't
fresh.
like Chester, you're a horrible person, and we cannot be friends.
Unless you donate 1.1 million.
Yeah,
Obviously.
1.1 million
And then
dollars.
everything's for sale.
Cashier check.
That's her number. There you go.
I think I'd be someone's girlfriend for 1.1 million.
Right?
I can just float that.
Guys, if you want to see Richard come back with the wig and the gender reassignment,
Yeah, I might not. If I could not go the whole hog initially,
Okay. that's
I just want to
1.4.
dip my toe
You
in the
could
water.
totally be completely convincing and not have surgery. It's,
Yeah,
That's
I agree with
true.
that. I agree with that.
You can do some good makeup.
Yeah, there's
You need
people out there that do better makeup than a lot of other people, and I'm like, damn, how you do that so good?
so Holly,
Mm.
now that
Jeez.
we've got another hour, let's roll over to the dark side of gaming, shall we?
Yeah, this was the. Yeah, I got briefed that you guys were going to talk
You
about
did,
this. So
you did. So
I'm ready. I'm prepared.
Did the rest of you ladies prepare?
Yeah, I had
watched
everyone prepare.
Mm-hmm.
I made
Awesome.
sure. I'm a good
Did.
mom.
You're a good
She
mom.
DM'd me and
She
everything.
did, while I was on my job. Good job, producer junior. So there was a video that came out, and I'm gonna throw the link in the chat for you guys, so you can watch it on your own time and get caught up. It's titled "The Dark Side of Gaming," and because Holly hasn't got to talk too much during this stream because she's been totally trolling you guys in chat, I'm gonna let her tell you what the video was about and give her opinion first, and then we'll go to Richard.
That moment when I really have to scroll down to read my own comment because I put it that much out of my mind because there was parts I didn't like. Okay, so I did think it was very interesting, and of course, a lot of it resonated with me on some level.
What was the topic of the video? Now that
Oh, I'm
haven't
sorry.
watched it, go ahead.
So it's about women in gaming, essentially. So women gamers. It didn't really address like what type of games. It was very broad. It's about a 6-minute video, so you guys should check it out. A lot of it was really good. It didn't feel super naggy like the documentary that we were talking about and kind of reviewing a few months ago.
Right.
It didn't feel naggy like that, which I liked. It felt very just kind of like, okay, this is what we're doing. There was men in it as well, which I thought was awesome because that's what we're about, is everybody, not just girls. But the one thing I hate, I'm sorry I'm spoiling the end chunk for you that have not watched it. At the end chunk, the girl, and I liked her throughout, I'm not hating, but she says, quote, "It really paints a picture that it is just a small minority and not a huge thing because the rest of the people in the industry are so supportive and that's comforting." I really don't think it's a small minority because if I'm joining a server and it's not just Counter-Strike, everyone's going to be like, oh, but Counter-Strike's really bad. When I was streaming, I played every game. I played WoW, I played League, I played Dota, I played everything. And all the communities are equally pretty terrible. So if every single game I'm playing, someone is making these comments that are described in the video, and there's only 5 people on my team, and it happens every single match make, that's not a small minority.
Who are they polling?
Am I right? Like, that is not a small minority. So I think she was off on that. I really, like, that was just like, bitch, please. I just watched the whole video. I thought it was great. I was saying amen, had my hands raised, and then you had to throw that chunk in.
Took you to church.
I don't agree with the chunk. But I think it's good. I think it's well done. You know, these women in gaming things scare the crap out of me. And I'm starring in a documentary about women in gaming that comes out next year. And I'm like the main person, and I'm terrified because I think it's something that can go south really fast.
Really fast. Agreed.
So it's scary. It's scary to me. And, you know, it's hard to represent yourself when you're talking about such a broad subject and you're trying not to like step on too many toes, but you're trying to be real to yourself. So I still give the girl credit.
All right, Richard, your turn.
Yeah, so I mean, look, first of all, I think the BBC has at least done better work here than they did in previous outings when they were talking about gaming. There was a Panorama documentary a few years ago. I wrote a response to it that was actually referenced in the Independent newspaper. And they picked all the extreme examples and were talking about gaming addiction as if it was established science, which it absolutely isn't. Nonsensical. There hasn't been enough credible studies for us to have a position on that yet. And they were really over the top about it. So when the BBC asked to interview me at a recent event I attended, I actually declined, and I said I wouldn't work with the BBC in any capacity until they issued an apology to all gamers for painting them out to be school shooters, abusive parents, and all manner of terrible things. So I kind of watched this with interest to see which direction they were going to take on it. Now, I think, first of all, it ignores the point that I made earlier, which is about the attack vectors, that women are going to be attacked for being women, not because they're women, but because the people doing the attacking will simply use any material that's at their disposal, and that's a trigger point. That's a button that you can push. I watched the whole thing. I thought I particularly liked the part where it highlighted people fighting back. That I liked.
Yeah.
Because it kind of endorses that idea, which has been such a massive taboo. Now, what I will say is, and it's interesting. This I can't remember her name, but this woman who basically said this young man made rape threats towards me, so I got in touch with his parents and basically outed him, which I think's hilarious, by the way.
We talked about that when it broke.
I remember when I was having my issues that I talked about earlier in the show, and I was like, well, I think if you were to take away the anonymity of some of these people, I don't think they behave the same way. And of course, our community is very sensitive about what they call doxing, about public information being leaked. And I'm only talking, obviously, about a name, and not necessarily an address or anything you could use for harassment purposes. And I do think it's interesting that when men who've been harassed, and this is one thing I didn't really talk about in the documentary, I think if I was to try and fight back, it would be considered to be very combative, a negative behavior from a negative person, whereas this documentary very clearly championed which I absolutely do, the women who were pushing back against their harassers. So I thought that was an interesting angle, and perhaps it's something that they could have maybe looked into and maybe made it a bit more layered, because, I know, for example, Total Biscuit, who's received more harassment than anybody I know in the gaming industry, regardless of gender. I know when he's had his lapses and has attacked back, he's still beaten over the head with that to this day. For example, I think he famously said on Twitter to one person, get cancer or something, which for me, people blow this up hysterically. Whereas in actual, if you were to go to Holland, canker get cancer is basically their equivalent of go to hell. It's what they say to each other, but friendly. It has no malicious intent. It's a very specific thing to our US and UK based thing, that this is like an anathema. This is like the thing you can't say. And obviously when John was subsequently diagnosed with cancer, everybody jumped on this tweet and was like, calm as a bitch, ha ha ha, and I think that's even more deplorable than what he did. I can understand his frustrations. After all, he said it's somebody who was attacking his wife on some level during a very difficult time in his life. So I think it's interesting that there does seem to be this disparity about whether it's okay to push back. And then just as a general thought, I think it's, to highlight the dark side of gaming without a counterpoint is a little bit... I'm not saying you need to be balanced when you do a documentary, but I think you've got to maybe show that it isn't all bad. For example, the reason I'm flying out in 4 hours or so, the reason I'm flying out to America is I'm helping somebody who has been in an unsafe space in gaming, in the industry. I'm helping them move. I'm helping them set up a new life that I hope is going to be very much more positive for them. That's pretty much my main purpose for flying to America, although I have got some other bits and pieces I can attend to while I'm out there, and I've got an event next weekend, so it just makes sense. But these stories don't get reported on, and I know they exist because not only do I partake in them, I talk to other people who do it as well. So I feel it could have been a bit more balanced. I feel that it was maybe cashing in a little bit on a Vogue topic, but all in all, by BBC standards at least, it was a better representation of the truth than anything they'd done before.
Tiff?
Sorry, I've been coughing, so I'm muted. I think it was a really great step in the right direction. I mean, like Holly Ann said, like we've watched that other movie and we were just like, what was that? And by the end of it, I mean, we kind of picked it apart, and then for this one in particular, like you said, all the way up until certain parts of it, they were really fantastic. But I think that they're generally a step in the right direction. And to quote Pixie from earlier, things don't change overnight, but I feel like it's moving forward and things are going to get better from this point on. I mean, they've kind of learned from their mistakes in the past, and that happens. And I think it'll be a better opening for a better documentary or a better segment in the future.
Well, I hope so. And I'd like people to make that effort. This is the thing. These journalists that are coming into our thing, and they're coming from externally, they're coming in with preconceptions. I don't know if anyone's noticed, but the average journalist is an incredibly lazy creature. They have very little interest in actually doing any digging, any research, any fact-checking whatsoever. They approach their stories like a scientist approaches a bad hypothesis. They come in with the preconception, with the idea of what they want to prove, and then they seem to cherry-pick examples that prove it. And this was my biggest problem with the BBC before with Panorama. They actively went out and interviewed people, and then they even cut off parts of the interview so, for example,
That's how a lot of the mainstream media does anything.
Yeah,
they cut off what's not good in media. I mean, the nightly news is, all a bunch of terrible things and what's going to bring in ratings and what's going to bring clicks to your website. So it's,
But when it's the BBC, this bastion of journalistic integrity, supposedly, I guess that's what triggers me. They went to an event, they interviewed people, and they would ask them these leading questions to get a point to say, yes, I do play games for 12 hours a night.
They had an opportunity and they misused it.
Yeah, the next sentence would be, but I don't do that anymore because I'm older and I've got more responsibilities. That sentence goes, right? So obviously that changes the whole complexion of what this person was saying. And people came to me, they were interviewed at an iSeries, which is an event in the UK that we have. And they were saying to me, Richard, they actually, I signed a waiver. There's not really anything I can do about it, but they grotesquely misrepresented what I said. And it was to create this argument that gaming addiction is very real. There wasn't any counterpoint. So I'm incredibly skeptical when the mainstream media come in and they want to lecture gamers about the gaming experience. And I don't like it. I'm not willing to cooperate with people that want to do that. And actually, I think we have got journalists in our industry that are capable of telling these stories and telling them in a more accurate, balanced, and fair way, because they've got the knowledge, they've got the contacts that these journalists don't have. Typically what happens when the BBC or an ESPN or whoever it is comes into gaming to do a story, they come in and they say, hey, I'm doing a story about this topic. Why don't you contact me? And this is how you can do it. Well, of course, all the fame-hungry assholes clamor over themselves. And the people that maybe have a genuine experience to talk about, but aren't so interested in maybe promoting themselves or promoting that experience, they don't get talked to. They don't get interviewed. They don't want to engage in that particular way of doing things. And as a result, you get these incredibly skewed narratives, which are driven by egotists and narcissists. It's about me, put me on the camera,
So I have a question for you. Since you do video game journalism, correct? That's what you would identify yourself as a video game journalist. What do you feel separates you about reporting on video games versus like a news reporter for the newspaper and somebody who works for the entertainment reporting on Hollywood?
Well, I mean, simply put, I know the gaming demographic, and I know that we're not all, I mean, the various labels we've had down the years, we started out and it was just that we were all socially awkward, and that's a given. That will apply to some people, but actually, if you look at the modern gamer these days, I would say you're just as likely to find a tanned bodybuilder, who's
Freakazoid?
Yeah, no, I'm definitely not talking about him. But someone that's actually,
Somebody who you would never
socially
think.
capable,
Yeah.
takes good care of themselves, doesn't
There's
have
a
any
lot
other
of those.
problems. And some people are doing that out based on insecurity. Other people are doing it because it's what they like doing. There's this spectrum here. You can't make any stereotypes these days about the gamer. Yes, neckbeards do exist. And then it was that we were intolerant. And I find that absurd because I can't think of any other group of people that would embrace, for example, things like furries or whatever. I mean, do I get to wear my foxtail when I go to work? No, obviously I don't. Yeah, I can have a persona on the internet and not necessarily be condemned for it. So I actually think we're a lot more tolerant. I've seen, for example, transgendered people be embraced in a very fond and loving manner in various competitive gaming communities. For example, exactly, with Scarlet, if an alien was to come down tomorrow and chronicle the history of StarCraft, they would believe Scarlet was one of the greatest players of all time just because of the reams and reams of praise she received them, and rightly so. I can't begin to imagine what the level of bravery it takes to have that level of scrutiny when such a personal fact about you is out there in the public domain. Then we were school shooters, and we were all lunatics because games promote violence. And the first question in an investigation when a gamer, when somebody shoots up a school is what games were they playing? Were they a gamer? Now, of course, we're all misogynists, rape apologists. It's just been this never-ending cycle of abuse towards the gaming demographic. And guess what? Now we're making real money. Now the average games launch is on a par with a Hollywood movie premiere. Now that esports is the next big thing, all of a sudden the mainstream media wants to come back and be like, hey, we'd really like to get to know about your culture. I'm afraid that boat sailed for me. I'm not interested in cooperating with people that have made us publicly enemy number one for 20 years. I'm not going to do that anymore because I remember what it was like to have to explain to people, yes, I'm a games journalist. And that meant, and to everybody outside of it, it meant I was some sort of abject failure. So I know and I respect the gaming demographic. And I think the other thing is, I don't mind being a contrarian. For a mainstream media person, a lot of the time they have to go with what the pitch is. What is the meat of the story? Okay, we've been reading a lot about misogyny. Go out and find some misogyny. That's what they want, right? That's what you have to do as a journalist. You have to jump through that. I am beholden to nobody. I can write whatever I want. It was very explicit when I joined Breitbart. No one gets to touch my copy besides proofreading it. Whatever I want to say, I can. That's one of the reasons why I'm there. I get paid very well to have an absolute nonsense, an uncensored platform. So I think that's why it's important. People like myself, my colleague Milo, I think we're very interested in telling the true story about the gaming demographic rather than just lazy narratives about things that aren't necessarily true or certainly have a greater degree of nuance than anyone would be willing to do in the mainstream media.
I think you bring up a good point too, because we talked about this a couple weeks ago, but the documentary that I'm in is called No Princess in the Castle. It's getting a lot of backlash right now because the directors and editor have chosen to add the other view and add that other viewpoint. And I think it's important to have that other viewpoint personally, because I feel like it's important to see both of those. I feel like it's unfair to just have one, regardless of what you think or what you believe or what you feel. People need to come to that conclusion and make that decision themselves. Plus, I feel like if it's something you're super passionate about and you totally disagree, then that person's gonna end up looking like a tool bag anyways. So, I mean, that's like, and people are outraged. I mean, big name people, women in the gaming industry that have decided not to be in the film for that reason, and other reasons as well. Just to me, it's like and to make a good film. Like, I want to see both sides. I want to be able to
I'm going to stop you because I was in the film. I dropped from the film because I wanted to see both sides, but the representation of myself was skewed after the editing, so I removed myself from the film.
Well, and that's different.
So that in itself, the integrity of how the film was presented, and you're asked to be in something as a documentary, and then it changes over the course of time because of media and wanting to be able to keep up with the attention of media, the outcome wasn't what you were told. Therefore,
but the bummer thing is when you're in a documentary, they get to do whatever they want. Like, it's not your decision. It's not your.
If it's a representation of me personally, when I sign the paperwork, then
you can leave, but it's not your film. So that's the other thing.
And then my representation will be taken out. They can't use my footage because that's what I'm saying. So you can leave the film. However, the film will not have yourself in it. Like, you could stay, and I don't begrudge you for staying, because I think that it is your personal perspective if you want to stay and see how it turns out, and if that is something that represents you accordingly and your personality and who you are as a person, by all means, it is for you, but it may not be for someone else. And I think it's not fair for someone to judge you or judge, like, I'm not saying me or you in general, but judge you online for something that you chose to do if they don't see that as their opinion.
I just think that filmmaking is just an interesting thing, because like, when you're a cast in the film, you're not deciding what the film's doing. You're a cast. You're a cast member. Now, that doesn't mean you can't poll. Of course you can. But like, my perspective is like, it's their film. Like, I'm not in a bad light personally. I'm personally not. So like, I don't see anything wrong with it. I think it's good to show both sides. I think that's good. I don't think it's okay for me to be getting messaged by all these females I've never met in my life and I've never talked to, telling me that I have no respect for myself. Like,
and that's the key, isn't it? Once again, it's not.
They don't know you.
Okay, we're talking about this misogyny and how it's a men in gaming. Well, actually, your anecdotal evidence, and obviously you should always take anecdotal evidence with a pinch of salt. Your anecdotal evidence is it's actually other women that are attacking you for being in this film, and certainly that's what I've seen from we've interviewed over at Breitbart a number of women who've said actually the number of women applying for jobs within the gaming industry has decreased because they've been told by other women, if you come into this space, it's not safe for you, despite the fact that demonstrably there isn't necessarily any evidence to back up their viewpoint. So this is why I worry about it becoming this self-fulfilling prophecy.
Pixie, you have something to say?
Pixie's gonna die.
Yeah, she's gonna burst it out.
I'm so sorry. So I actually hated this video. Like, I'm probably the only one here.
Wow, go Pixie.
I hated this video because I think it is probably cherry picked. And I say that, like, very specifically. I hate content that is not true. If you want to cherry pick things to frame them to suit your agenda, by all means, you can do it. But I'm sure as hell not gonna like it. I'm not gonna like it. It's part of the reason why I like what No Princess in the Castle is doing with bringing in the other side and the other perspective.
Yeah.
I don't think that you can balance anything in this world without two sides. There is always a center line that is the median, and there are always going to be people on the far left and far right of it. It doesn't matter. And the worst part is that I think when you drop out of something like this, that you're literally telling people that you know what you're saying is false and that it won't hold up under scrutiny.
Now, I'm going to
it-
disagree because that's not why I dropped
Look
out.
Bad.
I'm going to tell you that's not why I dropped out. I dropped out because when I
No,
signed
I'm
my
not talking
name
about you. I'm talking about
but
The
I'm gonna explain-
90%
I'm
of the
gonna
other
explain
women
it
that
to
left.
the chat
Yeah,
because
it's-
I don't want to be lumped in with the other people that we're
No, I
talking
agree.
about.
No, I know why you left. Like, I'm not talking about you in any way, shape, or form. I'm talking about the other people who've dropped because they're like, we don't think that we should have the other side of the argument in it. Of course you should. Of course
Have you
should.
seen a movie?
I mean,
Like, you
I mean,
cannot
this is-
balance anything in this world without two sides.
this has been the whole ridiculousness that we're moving towards now, you know, with this idea of no platforming people. So we have debates that aren't debates. We create echo chambers where everyone's on the same page. Universities are now endorsing the idea that if somebody has a dissenting opinion to a speaker who is going to be talking on a panel, they're not allowed to come because, you know, it breaks this safe space. You have the right to not hear a dissenting opinion. And increasingly we're starting to see this in documentaries where it's people don't want to debate. They want to have their ideas held up and lauded as being intellectually accurate without any scrutiny, without any counterpoint. We're starting to see people who say like ridiculous things. I can't remember the name of the chap who just got banned, I think it was, from, or rather, they were petitioning to have him banned from coming into the UK. He's a ridiculous figure. Somebody who says that rape should be legalized so women would be more careful with their bodies.
Oh, that guy.
You know
Oh,
the guy I'm
jeez.
talking about.
I
Now, this
can't remember
guy-
his name, but I
yeah,
don't.
well, I'm actually
Probably
glad I
makes that
can't. I
noise.
guess,
Yeah.
I guess it gives him more credence. It's an absurd position to take. It is an intellectual exercise. It's the kind of thing I would expect a child trying to be edgy to say. That's pretty much what it's all about. But by no means do you defeat his ideas by banning him and censoring him and pushing him into dark corners of the internet where like-minded idiots can
Well, with that
talk and have their
situation,
fester.
that was like the whole thing is where he was suppressed with that, and then he did find a way to create like meetups for like-minded people, and then it became like a whole other thing, and that's where it
Well,
was.
it's an intellectual
That thing was
circle
insane.
jerk.
Yeah.
That was.
And you know what I'd like to see is I'd like to see that idiot. I've just been told he's called Roosh V. I'd like to see that idiot actually brought out and made to have this discussion with somebody capable of intellectually destroying him. And then all of his little gremlin fans that endorse.
Well, that's just
that-
like the dude that had that was it that cancer helping drug that raised it up like 5,000%. You can't
Yeah.
sit down with him and have an interview because he's going to sit there and just make fun of the interview the entire time. And I feel like that's what one of those kind of people would have been. Like it's like you would love to have that like sit down and be like, listen, dude, what's really going on? Like, what are you doing here? But they're not going to give that to you because they know that's what you want, and it's so frustrating. It's so insane.
If your ideas are so intellectually superior to mine, then you should sit down with me and you should be able to tell me why my ideas are shitty.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Like, if
Yeah.
Then they'd be like,
you
well, you're too punitive of mine to
intellectually
understand.
point out all of the flaws in my argument, then I have no respect for you, and like your opinion's not valid for me.
Mm.
Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah, and this is what I mean. You know, I think we
Sure,
enter
I
into
had to.
very dangerous territory where people aren't willing to debate and discuss ideas, no matter how absurd they are. Because you know, this is how extremist groups actually grow. That we, you know, one of the reasons why, for example, you know, where I live, we've seen in the UK. We've seen an increase in radicalized extremist groups that are against, you know, any form of immigration that are basically racist by any other name. is because our mainstream politicians refuse to debate immigration. We just refuse to talk about it. And even though the populace that elected them wanted to have a serious talk about immigration, what are we going to do? You know, we've got limited space, limited houses. We're in an economic recession. Why are we still having X amount of people come in? Can you explain it to us, politicians? They said, no, we don't want to talk about this. We feel it's too hot button a topic. If we speak our mind, we may be branded racist, and it may get us into territory that makes us unelectable. So because of that general ignoring of the issue, we ended up with things like the BNP, we ended up with UKIP, we ended up with the English Defence League. And all of a sudden, all of these groups actually became legitimized by the fact no one else was willing to talk about what the electorate wanted to talk about. And this is why, this is the danger when you know platform people. This is the danger when you don't want to talk about debates that people want to engage in, and you just push the other side away. You marginalize people, and marginalized people, by definition, are more likely to engage in extremist activities and extremist behaviors. It's why I've never really championed this stance. It's one of the most used phrases ever. We don't negotiate with terrorists. And I've always found that to be such an oxymoronic way to operate, in the sense that, okay, do you think that if there were negotiations, maybe there'd be less terrorism slightly? You know, like I think logically as an exercise, I actually think that would make more sense. It marginalized people engaged in extremism. And of course it's deplorable, or, you know, deplorable across the board to take human lives to make political points. But if there were other way to make political points, maybe we'd see less lives taken. I don't know. We've never engaged.
We don't know. We have no idea.
So this I think we don't really follow through on our intellectual exercises when it comes to debating both sides.
That's been proven time and again. You have the girls who, I'm gonna not remember this and butcher it, but they were speaking out against ISIS by taking topless photos.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, there's so many ways to have your voice heard.
So there are so many ways to have your voice heard.
And a lot of the most ignorant among us are the ones with the loudest voices. I'm looking at you, Anita Sarkeesian, like right at you.
So,
not to name names, but
not to name names, we throw them down. But every week we sit here and we have these types of conversations. If you guys like the show, hit the follow button, because we're going to be back next Friday, same bat time, same bat channel. But every week we sit here and we have these types of conversations. We bring these types of topics up, and we talk about change. We talk about things we want to see happen. We talk about things that we see happen that we're not happy with. We talk about things that we see happen that we're picking our jaw up off the floor, that we're like flabbergasted that's happening in our community, our society, and we see it all over social media. But I haven't heard in this whole conversation with us at the table and you guys in chat is, how are we going to make this change? What are some suggestions that we can do? What are some things that you're doing that you feel are working for you, Richard, in your community? What are some things that you guys think that are working for you inside of your communities that you're in chat, wherever you're sitting at? If you're in Casey's channel and you think that you're over there helping and you're over there, fighting the good fight and you like what's going on over there, how is that helping us over here, or helping on the internet, or solidarity of treating other people like you want to be treated? So, Richard, I'm going to start with you, because you have the loudest voice here. You have the loudest reach out of all of us sitting at the table right now, and people tend to listen to the things that come out of your mouth. So, I'm going to put you
on occasion. So yeah, look, I mean, what am I doing to change things? Well, I think the first thing is I certainly never want to get bogged down in a narrative. If you pick a side because it's convenient and it speaks to you, and you haven't done any form of academic scrutiny, you're absolutely part of the problem. And I talk to a lot of people when it comes to the Gamergate issue who are very much like this, and they say Gamergate's a harassment group. Okay, where's your evidence? How do you know that? I've just heard about it. I've talked to a woman recently. We had an exchange, and she said that she was really apprehensive about writing anything from a journalistic perspective, because she'd heard that she would be harassed, and she'd heard that she would be subject to all this, Gamergate bile. And I was like, well, that I can assure you this is very overblown, and you should really look into this. And I gave her some places to look at, it's kind of historically break it all down, away from very biased sites like Rational Wiki or whatever. So that's the first thing you have to do. You have to be willing to challenge yourself and look at something objectively. If you say, oh well, I'm a woman on the internet, and one guy sent me a dick pic on Reddit once, so that's it. It's a misogynistic cesspool. Then look, there's a bunch of other people saying that over here, and I'm going to align myself with their views.
Snapchat.
Yeah, right. If that's the level of engagement you're going to have with the problem, you're actually part of the problem, unfortunately, and it goes both ways. So that's number one. I think second of all, we already touched upon it while we've been on the show, and that is that if you are a woman who likes to play games, don't tag up as a man. Don't go into games disguising who you are or feeling you have to. Just understand that when you are being attacked by these idiots that are going to attack you, it's not personal. They are attacking the things that they have material for. It's like a stand-up comedian with a heckler. Okay, you prepare lines for the hecklers, and when they heckle, you say the comeback that you've pre-prepared, and only the very best could think of stuff off the cuff for each person. And it's the same with the average abuser on the internet. They have pre-prepared material. Get back in the kitchen, make me a sandwich, suck a dick, I'm going to rape you, whatever it is, whatever extreme they want to go to. It's boring, it's tired, and it loses all its potency and power the more and more you hear it, actually. That's been my experience. All the things that people have thrown at me used to hurt me way more 10 years ago than it does now. I just built up this resilience to it, and I know when it's going to happen, and I know what's coming, and you learn to negotiate it intellectually, in the sense that, yes, are they saying it because it's about me? No, it's about them, and they're just using the low-hanging fruit. So that's the other thing. And I think as well, just in terms of doing things to encourage people, it's got to be a little bit about outreach. You have to show people that there is this good side to the internet. There is this good side towards gaming. There is this positive culture. There are communities. Some of my actual real life friends I've met through gaming. My former housemate, before I had to become a bit more adult and move in with the other half, met through gaming. Met two of my housemates through gaming. A lot of my friends that I've gone out to America to see now, met through gaming. I met my agent through gaming. All of my job opportunities have come through gaming. It can be a tricky ground to negotiate, but if you open yourself to the extreme possibilities of meeting wild and interesting people from all different backgrounds, you'll have an incredible time. I think the positives far outweigh the negatives, and I think people need to start talking about these stories. Yes, right now, like in everything, fear-mongering sells. Fear-mongering sells, and selling this idea that the internet is an unsafe space for women, for children, for whoever, it's going to sell, and it's going to make some people a lot of money. Again, let's talk about Sarkeesian. It's going to make people money, so that's why they sell it. And it's no different when the government's telling you, hey, we could have a dirty bomb go off, so you might want to buy these, gas retardant blinds or something. You can tell I'm not very scientific because they definitely don't exist, but you get the point. We create a culture of fear, and that's when we can pick away at people's self-preservation instinct. We can market it and sell it. So let's talk about the other side. People do it when it comes to Islamophobia, don't they? They go out and they go, no, well, look at these Muslims from a local mosque here volunteering to help the homeless. How can you agree with a policy of wanting to send them back home? We do it for other groups. We just don't do it for gamers for some reason. And I think it's about time we started.
Holly.
Well, I mean, I can't really follow that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you close the show.
Me?
You. Because it's your birthday!
I know. With this question?
In general, love. Because you can't follow that.
I mean, I really can't.
You can't.
So what am I saying?
You're closing the show. What do we do
my
at the end of
gosh.
the show? Every week.
Okay. I'm okay. I know what I'm doing.
You're doing it.
I'm a
All right.
professional. All right. So... First off, we want to thank Richard for being here. Thank you for coming for my birthday. Literally, favorite stream ever in my life, ever.
Thank you very much.
So you're great, and I really love everything that you stand for. I appreciate all the work that you do, and I think there's more people that appreciate you than that don't. Of course, the people that don't appreciate always seem to shine brighter, but they don't in my eyes. I think that what you're doing is fantastic. I never got why I had like 4 people telling me that I remind them of like the female Richard Lewis. But now the fact that 4 people have said that to me, I'm like blown away by that because I feel like it's a really sweet comment.
Are they friends? Because it might not be a
compliment. They're friends. They're friends of mine and fans of yours.
just to put that out there.
But I feel very honored and just to have had you here and for you to just share with us. We are going to go around and during this time we do kind of like shout outs, thank yous, whatever. Clearly I'm starting. And then I hope I didn't screw anything up because I'm still just not awesome. So yes, so bringing it back to when the stream started, I got a shout out to my mom. Before esports was a thing, my mom was driving me to all the tournaments. My mom was supportive of me, and I really appreciate her for that. She even would get on Ventrilo and TeamSpeak and talk shit when people were making fun of me. I love my mom. She's great. So shout out to you, Mom. You rock. And shout out to myself because it's my birthday Sunday and I'm going to be old. So don't ask me how old because I'm going to tell you 21. And so I'm really going to be 26, but someone came in my stream the other night and said, wow, look at
me. I'm old. Don't
everyone calm down. Someone came in my stream the other night and they were like, wow, look at this bitch. What are you, like 17? And I'm like, I will take it. Thank you.
That's my favorite.
Clearly, he's never been offline enough to realize that that is a compliment for a woman. So I'm going to take that. And also, shameless plug because I'm allowed to. If you guys are interested in watching some CSGO and we'll be playing afterwards, I kind of suck. So you might not want to tune in.
She's totally terrible. Don't do it. She won't let you yell. She won't let you type in caps lock on her chat.
Hey, okay, I have my bot on tight. Okay.
Censorship.
I know. I'm so
I don't like being censored when I'm trying to internet yell. Miss Kellyanne.
Okay, Richard, you get to go next.
Oh, well, obviously, thanks for having me on. I'll certainly come back anytime. Although I'm not doing as much of these as I used to do, but this will certainly be put on the whitelist, shall we say, if you ever do want to have me back for whatever reason. It's great to meet you all. I hope you certainly all keep in touch. Obviously, I know Holly Ann already, but first time.
And I will keep in touch.
So certainly all keep in touch with me and all of that. Thanks to the people who came to watch. New people who might never have seen me before, and obviously people who came through my Twitter and Facebook. And shout out to all the people that are willing to scrutinize, I guess, to the intellectually honest. Here. So yeah, that's it. Thank you very much.
It was like the
sorry. I'm so cool. I'm like 10 years old. Okay,
you're caught up in that moment.
She was in there. Pixie, go ahead.
Wants to go now.
Pixie.
But oh shit. I was not prepared for this.
Speaking of caught up in it, she didn't even know her name was called.
I was like not prepared for this at all. So shout out to all of the awesome people in Twitch chat who have been keeping up with us and derping around with us. Feel free to come at us and talk shit with us. Because we will do it back. Because that's what we do.
Because we're awesome.
Yeah, I love talking shit. It's a thing. I'm sorry my mic was low. I apologize. We'll get that fixed in the future, or I'll just like put my face all up in it.
That's what she said.
Shout outs to Set to Destroy. Shout outs to Drac. Thanks for coming, man. It's been awesome. Obviously, shout outs to you, Richard. We love you.
Thank you very much.
And shout outs to you, ladies, for joining us in for the awesome shindiggery crapness that is my level of what?
All right, Tiff, your shout outs, please.
My shout outs this week are gonna go to Chris because I was middle
Aw.
tattooing last weekend and he brought me home Thunder Horse, which is my new bearded dragon. I'm
Thunderhorse!
so excited.
If you haven't seen
wanted-
Thunderhorse on her Twitter or her Facebook, you gotta go. You gotta go.
He's also on my Snapchat too. So I'm really upset because Thunder Horse is in like a really pissy mood right now and won't let me pick him up, and so I'm really sad about it. So let's hope that he like lets me hold him again because he's like this big and he's super cute. I also want to thank anybody who helped me out with my art show tickets. It's going to be next Friday, so I won't be here next Friday because I'll be selling art and being at an art show
Yay.
and
Aw,
mooching.
yay.
You know, throw up the link for your website, by the way, so if anybody wants to take a look at your art and purchase anything. And by the way, Tiff is saving up for a tablet. She will be designing our Lort t-shirts that will be for sale in our store eventually
dope.
when we get there. Remember, we are a nonprofit. That means we are a not-for-profit charitable organization. All donations and or tips go to our scholarship foundation. We are not sponsored by any major organization, so there's no funding coming in. All this production that you see, the low mics and everything, is done by us, coming out of our personal pockets. So thank you for bearing with us for the little technical difficulties that we had. And my shout outs go to you ladies for coming in every week and sitting with me, making my dreams come true, living the life, living the dream. And Richard, you for joining us because you're fabulous. I feel like there's always someone that you're going to meet that you're going to learn things from and that you're going to respect for certain criterias and their ways of life. And you being an honest and open person speaks volumes to the man that you are, not only in your persona online, as you like to say, but also in real life. And you just told us a little bit about yourself, that you're going to America to help someone move and to help someone start anew, and that's something that a lot of people just don't do anymore. And we like to give a hand up and a reach out to our community and be able to help each other. And thank you so much for that. We appreciate you. And
Well, again, thank you. It's high praise indeed. It does mean a lot. Thank you very much.
Everybody in chat, thank you again for coming, and we'll be here same time next week without Tiff, apparently. But stay tuned to our Twitter to see who the guest will be for each week. Sometimes we don't have a guest. Sometimes that's just ladies and you. So thanks again. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh.